Welcome to listening to stories on Kevin TV audiobook channel. Chapter 301. A Theory. Arad scratched his head. I don't know. I can just understand them. Spoken languages aren't a part of the void dragon nature. Intelligent creatures might fight the void dragon tongue hard, but monsters understand it. What do you mean? Try to speak to Ayala without talking. Just stare at her face. Also tell her to clear her mind and not think about anything. Ayala, can we test something? Arad looked at Ayala with a smile. Don't think of anything. Yes. Ayala nodded and closed her eyes. Can you hear anything? Arad looked at her. Nothing? Ayala opened her eyes. I don't know what to look for. It's not a sound, more of dripping thoughts. The more primal a creature is, the better it will understand it. Arad scratched his head. Don't mind. I can't seem to get a hang over it. But I should be able to talk with monsters. Jack looked at Arad. Is it something that our thoughts can interfere with? Jack is right. A rational mind will ignore the void dragon voice, or should say, mental voice. You're right, Arad nodded. Jack sighed. Then it's no hope for us. You're probably better with monsters. He looked at the cobra and the wolves. Are they tamed? I won't say tamed. The wolves would leave back to their lair. The cobra asked if she could go with us. Arad approached the cobra and patted its side. There isn't a quick way to take her with us. She could just follow us to the elves. Izdis stared at Arad with a smile. I want to see their faces when we come in with such a monster. Ayala sighed. They might snipe her from afar. All we can hope is for them to be reasonable and be willing to talk. Arad scratched his head. I don't think they will fire with us standing beside her. They will, Ayala looked at Arad. The relations between the elves and humans have been in the mud for several decades now. She's right. Izdis stared at Jack. You can give back my stuff, and I will talk to them. No, Ayala stared at Izdis. I will do the talking. Arad sighed. We'll figure that out when the time comes. Lydia needs treatment, so let's go. He touched the carriage. Everyone touch my back. Ayala stared at Arad. You can't teleport us all to the city, can you? I should be able to, as long as you're lighter than me, he smiled. One of the elves' woman hostages stared at him, wondering how could they weigh less than him. Ayala smiled, approaching Arad. Come on, let's go back. She touched his back, as did everyone. Zahn, in the blink of an eye, the whole carriage disappeared with a puff. Crack! The elf hostages fell to the ground, their heads spinning from the sudden change. What did happen? One of them gasped, looking to the side to see the carriage shattered into small pieces. Gah! Arad growled, scratching his head as he rolled on the ground. I miscalculated. We teleported directly into a tree. He stared at the broken carriage. Jack barely stood, carrying Lydia. You almost killed us. He looked at Arad. Sorry, the carriage's left wheel reformed inside a tree. Arad looked at the disintegrated wheel. We're lucky it wasn't one of us. You should be careful about teleporting with large objects in the forest, Eris growled. Didn't that monster Scarlet teach you anything? Scarlet? Arad looked at her, tilting his head. You mean Ginger? Ned Knoll, Ned. Who else I would be talking about? She's a true magic monster. And you have her blood, Eris glared at Arad. She must have taught you a trick or two. She didn't, Arad replied. I got infected by lycanthropy, and she used her vampirism to prolong my transformation. Eris stared at Arad, dumbfounded for a second. How? Are you telling me you got infected with lycanthropy? Do you know how crazy is that? But I was infected. What do you mean? Arad stared at her, and Eris looked at the elves. We talk somewhere else, alone, or with her and him. I don't care. She stared at Ayala and Jack as long as you trust them. Eris looked at Arad, walking to his side. Is this dragon joking? His kinds are immune to most curses. There is no way in the 9 hells that a dragon got infected by lycanthropy of vampirism. Could it be sorcery? Some of his ancestors were vampires or werewolves. No dragon cannot get infected. At that moment, Alcott's image sparked in her head. Don't tell me, was it him? Arad, is Alcott your father? Eris asked, staring at Arad in the eyes. Everyone froze for a second, and Jack started noticing the similarities between Arad and Alcott. It was the eyes, the stance, the tone, and the expressions. No, I never met my parents, Arad replied. But you can say I know mother more than father. I never met, let alone got to know him. Eris scratched her head. Bloodline rarely shows itself in the next generation. It can't be, and Alcott is a human, not a dragon. How strong could he be to leave a sorcerer bloodline? Aela stared at Eris. You think Arad inherited a susceptibility from Alcott if he was his father? That was just a theory. Eris sighed. Now that I'm looking at it, he can't be Alcott's son. You're right, Jack looked at them. Alcott's last wife ran away while pregnant, but there is no way Arad is that child. She was a human after all. Hiss. The cobra hissed, coiling around Arad with her tongue springing out. Rest here, Arad smiled, patting the cobra's head. We would come pick you up tomorrow, so avoid people and lay low. The cobra hissed one last time and slithered back to the forest. Arad looked at everyone with a smile. We can talk later. Let's focus on getting them back home first. I also want to see Aela's homeland. Elves live for a long time after all. Chapter 302, Gaining Respect. The village chief stood beside the gate, looking forward and waiting for the princess and the adventurers to return. What were those noises from the mountain? The chief looked at the guards. Sir, we didn't manage to see anything. That was the roar of a horrid monster, no doubt about it. The guard saluted the chief, standing beside him. I fear they agitated something we can't deal with. The chief sighed. I hope we don't have to move again due to monsters. The people are exhausted. The guard nodded. You're right. We only moved here a year ago and the people don't have the funds or stamina to travel. The guard looked at the mountain. If they angered some kind of monster, this village is doomed. The village chief sighed. For God's sake, let's pray. It was nothing to fear. The elderly have told me they rather die here than move again. You're right, the guard nodded, looking down with a sad face. My father said the same thing. My old bones can't move. I would rather die here than suffer the hardship of months of moving. It's what he said. Thud. Chief, look at the forest edge. They are coming. But without the carriage, one of the guards on the walls shouted, and the chief looked forward, his palm on his wrinkled forehead. Did they lose it? The chief growled. Don't tell me they ran away after getting beaten. He lifted his hand and waved to the guards. Go, meet them with 10 guards. Make sure not to be rude to the princess. The guard nodded, waving his arm to the back guards to bring the horses. I can see they are carrying the paladin. She must be injured. Bring bandages and a healer with us, he shouted. You're taking a healer for them. The chief stared at the head guard. We can't let a paladin die. It could bring bad luck or the wrath of her god upon us, the guard replied, and the chief nodded. You're right. The horses came with the guards, and the guard rode one. I will be back. Thud, thud, thud. The horses rushed across the fields, quickly reaching Arad and the rest. Creak. The horses froze, stopping in their track from fear just before facing Arad. Hoy, what's the matter? Move. The guard whipped his leaves, but the horses grunted, not daring to move a step forward. Sir, the horses are scared. Those barely react to monsters, yet now they are shaking. He stared at his horse, itching to run away. Whew. The Arad walked forward toward the guards with a smile. You came all the way to meet us here, he smiled. Can you help us carry her? He pointed back at Lydia, and Jack neighed. Hwah! One of the horses roared, violently lifting his front legs and throwing the guard riding him on the ground. Clank! The guard fell to the ground, seeing his horse rush toward Jack and Lydia as Arad pointed. To humans and intelligent creatures in general. Arad merely looked like a large man. Their consciousness blinds their eyes to the horses. Arad looked like a dragon, standing in front of them with his claws unleashed. One wrong move, and they would end up as his dinner, and their instinct screamed to run or obey. Thud. The head guard jumped from their horse and faced Isdis. "We're glad you're safe." "You Majesty Isdis Lior Ruris." He bowed. "How did the quest go? Are the goblins dead, and is the monster of the mountains somewhat related?" Isdis stared at the man, confused for a second. He stood perfectly between being professional and rude, barely looking at her face, yet grunting deep inside. She pointed at Arad. "We had some unexpected events, but he dealt with them, including the mountain monster." Arad glared back at Isdis. "Why are you throwing it at me?" "We managed to clear the goblins. The village should be safe now." Arad cleared his throat, looking at the elves behind him. "We saved the hostages and will be escorting them back home soon." "I see, thank goodness." The head guard smiled and then stared at Arad. "What are the unexpected events Her Majesty talked about?" Arad glared back at Isdis, wanting to punch her. "What if I said something that could spark a war between the humans and elves? I can't just say they attacked us. They would think all the elves are the same." "We got attacked by some bandits," Jack interfered. "They seem to have wielded a magic item that controls stone giants." "What?" the guard gasped. "How could such a terrifying thing fall into the bandits' hands?" He stared at Arad. "Please tell me you recovered the magic item." Arad was confused for a second, but Aella quickly took for him. "I made sure all the bandits are dead. I sniped every last one of them." Thud. The walking black rug behind Arad pointed at him. "He killed the bandit leader and the stone giants. Sadly, he's a bit of an idiot and broke the magic item. Oi." Arad glared back at Eris. "Who did you call an idiot?" "You." Eris giggled underneath the rug. "I know the fight was hard, but you didn't need to blast the giant into rubble with your bare fists." The bandit leader pissed himself in terror. The guard leader froze. That was a terrifying feat. Stone giant's skin is as hard as a rock, and for Arad to blast it with his bare fists, he needs tremendous strength. No wonder the horses are scared. The guard leader stepped back, keeping a 2-meter distance between him and Arad. If this man decided to swing his palm at my armored chest, my spine would fly back before I could feel the hit. "Let's hurry back then." Arad looked at the head guard, trying to change the subject. "Lydia needs treatment." "As you order, sir." The head guard saluted Arad and rushed back. "It's nice to plant some respect." Iris stood beside Arad, covered in the rug, but he could tell she was making a smug face. Chapter 303, Going for the Throne. Thud, thud. The guards rushed Lydia to the church to get healed, and Jack walked back into the inn. He stood silently behind the room's door, looking outside the window. "We've confirmed the information you gathered." A masked man landed on the window, staring at Jack from the side of his eyes. "Give me details." Jack looked at the man with a large smile. "The stakes are big this time." The man jumped into the room, rolling a paper on the ground. "Isdis Lior Ruris. She's the 4th princess to the throne." The man started explaining. "The king is the current ruler of the kingdom, and he has 8 children, 5 girls and 3 boys. By the right of birth, the males have priority to the throne to carry their father's legacy. Isdis is the 4th princess, meaning she's the 4th of the girls, and after her siblings, she is the 7th to the throne. The last of the sisters is still 14 years old, so she hasn't joined the battle of the throne, meaning Isdis is the last one, hence being sent alone to a dangerous mission with only 1 guard. No, Earl." Jack smiled. "She is alone." He giggled, looking at the man. "If Isdis forced Arad to serve her, her siblings would kill her to try and seize his power for themselves. And if she tried to get Arad killed, they would kill her to get him on their side. She can inform the king, and that would only lead to her losing Arad's power, since the king would likely assign the first prince to keep Arad in check. Even if she tries to expose the blackmail, her brothers will only use it as a reason to get rid of her. It isn't about truth or lies. It's all about who makes the first move." "I see. I will go gather more info." The man smiled, standing up. "Don't forget us when you reach the top." Thud. He jumped out of the window, and Jack sat on the bed. A battle for the throne, Arad was a mere pawn for them to gain power, but by putting Izdis in a hard spot and using her as a cover-up, we can push him to the front. She can't control the dragon. The dragon is siding with her. He giggled. They won't see their sister riding a dragon, but instead imagine her kneeling beneath him. Jack stood. Now, all I need to do is to have Arad grow stronger and have his noble domain expand so he can face the princes in political power and hopefully snatch the throne by using Izdis as the key. Jack pulled the papers and smiled. It would also be nice if we could get the elves behind Arad and Izdis. Using the current incident as leverage, he could get the support of a foreign kingdom, boosting his stand. Jack hid the paper inside his pocket and looked at another stack. The kingdom's economy is in shit and drains. I bet Sarah and Roberta will find the information useful. He pulled a clean paper and started writing a plan. Let's sell the information to those two on one condition. They use it to enrich Arad's domain or sell under his coming noble name, and with Izdis mentioned in the middle as a supporter, with the kingdom's wealth slowly relying on Arad's domain, and with Izdis under him, add his power and status as a dragon mediator, he would have a good chance of seizing the throne. Jack laughed, jumping back on the bed. I will make Arad the king and have a seat right beside him. Jack stood and left the room, walking downstairs and seeing Izdis sitting with Arad in the tavern. Hey, you two? He smiled, approaching them. Having some good time? Izdis glared back at him. You're the last person I wanted to see, she growled. When will you return my stuff? Woha there. Jack waved his hands. Calm down a bit. You're a bard, aren't you? He pulled a chair and sat beside them. I know it's rough up there in the capital. Arad stared at Jack. What are you talking about? Jack looked around. The bartender wasn't around, so he smiled. Listen closely. I know it's dangerous. One mistake and Jack made a slashing motion on his neck with his thumb. You're dead. What are you talking about? I'm saying that you can relax here. Jack poured Izdis a large mug of beer. Arad is here. It's a bit safer beside him, isn't it? What are you going on about? Izdis glared at Jack. What I'm saying is that your siblings will try to steal Arad if you're the one in charge, but if it was the reverse with Arad in charge, they wouldn't be able to do shit. Izdis glared at Jack. You're either a fool or an idiot for suggesting that to me. Jack giggled, staring at Arad. Say, want to go for the throne? It will be nice to expand your domain. Dragons usually fight with each other to expand their domains. The simple idea of fighting humans to expand his land sounded enticing. Izdis stared at Arad's face, quickly learning that he was interested. Won't it be a great idea to have the elves' backing in exchange for a peace promise? Jack scratched his head. Those hostages are loose ends. Depending on how they act, we could lose the elves' support.
What are you three talking about?
Aella entered the tavern, finding it empty except for Arad, Jack, and Izdis. Aella, how is Lydia doing? Jack waved his hand. She's going to be fine. Aella smiled. The healers said she has a great constitution. She would be able to walk tomorrow, but they strongly advise her to rest for at least a week. Arad nodded. That's fine. She can rest in the carriage through the trip behind the border. That's fine and all. Aella looked at Arad with a smile. What were you three talking about? Chapter 304, Passing Wind. Arad woke up on his bed in the morning. Seeing Jack asleep on the couch, he stood looking at the ceiling. Something is on the roof. He could feel a faint aura above the tiles. He walked toward the door and slowly opened it, inspecting the hallway. He could see a ladder at the end with a trapdoor above it. That should lead above the roof. Arad approached and grabbed onto the ladder. I have a bad feeling about this. That aura doesn't belong to a human, and it's being suppressed. The more of a reason to check it out. Arad stared at the trap door. There was nothing last night. I should make sure everything is okay before we leave for the elves. Arad climbed the ladder and pushed the trap door open, slowly crawling into the rooftop. He looked around, seeing a masked kid sleeping on the roof. On a closer inspection, the kid had 2 horns sticking from the top of his head, tattooed white skin and strange clothes that didn't match anyone he saw before. "Excuse me," Arad approached the kid, looking at the chiseled white mask. The kid tilted his head back. "It's early on. Let me sleep." He curled back into a ball, snorting. "Everyone should be waking up now. It's been a while after dawn." Arad looked at the kid. "Is he a tiefling? That aura is far purer than a tiefling. He might be a demon or a devil, but devils shouldn't be able to walk the world freely." "No way, can I ask? What are you?" Arad poked the kid. "Name is Chris, a wind devil." He sat up and turned toward Arad. "Shouldn't you introduce yourself first, Void Worm?" Clang. Arad pulled his sword. "What are you doing here?" "Nothing to harm you," Chris stood. "I felt that a Deianira was about to fall into the wrong hands, so I flew here. I'm leaving now since she's safe." Arid Wind Devil, the 4th S rank. "Nina did say he's a little kid warlock, but she was wrong. He's the real deal, a true devil." "The 4th, so we have no chance of winning." Chris cracked his neck. "You're going to the Elf Nation next. I bet you're going to meet Grant, the Spirit King. He might look bad, but give him some slack. He's a good guy." "Wait, you're already leaving?" Arid growled, seeing Chris turn around. "Of course I have no business around here." Chris started floating. "I came to kill that purple dragon if he managed to capture the Deianira girl, but since he failed, I don't need to interfere." The dragon ran away. "Shouldn't you chase and kill him?" Arid growled. "Extra work? No thanks. I'd much rather sleep under the warm sun." He pointed at Arad. "Be careful, you're growing too fast and are drawing the attention of higher powers. We S rank might not care, but the high A ranks might come to kill you." "You say other adventures are coming for my life?" "Right, I would say your power is in the mid-range A rank from the rumors, but from what I see now, you're barely escaped the lower A rank." Chris started floating higher. "See you in the future, and hopefully not as an enemy or a corpse. I tend to oversleep and miss big events like I did this time." Bam! The Wind Devil blasted away, leaving a green trail behind him. "We should go to the elves and discover just what Ayala's family is. Something has to be wrong for the 4th rank to come all the way here." "You're right. We should probably get to level up." He said, "You're barely above the lower A rank." "I'm still at B rank, isn't that good?" "From a human perspective, yes. From a survival standpoint, the stronger you get, the better." Arad walked to the trap door and climbed down, seeing Jack walk slowly out of the room, rubbing his eyes. "What is it?" "Nothing. Just checked the rooftop," Arad replied. "We should go out and check on the girls." "You're right. The village chief should have prepared the supply." Jack scratched his head, yawning as he walked toward the stairs. As the two walked down, they started hearing Isdis playing her baiwa in the tavern with people listening. Ayala sat at the front desk with a bowl of salad in front of her. "You're awake." Ayala smiled, waving her hand to Arad. "Good morning." Arad approached Ayala. "Is Lydia still asleep?" Ayala looked away. "Well, about her. She pointed toward the back door. She should be training in the backyard." "Huh?" Jack sighed, scratching his head. "I will drag her inside." The healers told her to lay low. He walked toward the back door, pushing it open. Lydia stood in the backyard. Her eyes closed as she sheathed her sword and stood naturally. That attack was fast. The pain in my chest prevented me from accelerating fast enough to counter or block. She remembered the Major when he attacked her. I need a way to draw my sword more efficiently, faster and stronger. How to counter an attack when I can't move well? She channeled some holy magic into her hands. This is the best time to train for such a thing when being critically injured. It stimulates the situation in which I will need to do it. Since she was training on a way to counter while injured, being really injured helps make it more realistic. If she can't do it now, there is no way she will do it in a real fight. The stab is on my chest, so I need to avoid using those muscles and even breathing heavily. Lydia shifted the position of her legs, turning sideways and pulling her right arm in front. I don't need to move my arms. As long as I do this, I can use my shoulder to deflect an attack, relying on my heavy armor. Thud. She then jumped back, releasing a faint stream of holy magic into her body. Then I need to stop the bleeding with healing magic. What are you doing? Jack called her, from the back chapter 305 expectations. Lydia opened her eyes, looking back at Jack with a smile. Getting some exercise done. She scratched her chin. You know, they say moving is good for recovery. Not in your case. You need to sleep, food, and rest. Jack dragged her back inside the inn. Arad looked at Lydia. Lydia, did you feel anything this morning or last night? Like what? She replied, getting away from Jack's grasp. I don't know, like a devil? Arad looked at her with a straight face. I didn't sense anything like that. She approached Arad with a golden flame blazing in her eyes. Did you see something? Was he a fraud? I doubt it. I barely sensed his magic. I think he has a way to escape Paladin's senses. Arad waved his hand. Nothing. I got a strange feeling this morning? Though you might have felt something, I will tell Jack later. It's better to get a simple understanding of that kid first. Lydia nodded. We can't underestimate your gut feeling. It's better to stay alert. I will go check on the village chief. Arad stood, and Ayla followed him. You get ready for the trip. Wait for me. Izdis stopped playing her biwa, making the crowd sigh. Ayla looked at her. Weren't you playing? The people seemed to still want to hear music. She didn't care about music at all. All she wanted is some time with Arad. Having Izdis tag alone will deprive her of that. I played enough, Izdis replied, puffing her chest. Now I need to go see the village chief before we leave. I must go with you. Ayla sighed. Fine, let's go. She cannot get rid of Izdis this easily. Let's go. Arad walked forward, and the two girls followed him into the street. This village is quiet and peaceful, isn't it? Izdis looked around with a smile. The exact opposite of the capital. Arad looked at her. Won't the capital be better with more people? Not really. It's too busy and noisy, and the nobles there are quite annoying. I can't go around the streets without them starting some rumors. She looked at the fences and people walking inside their gardens, watering the plants. I would love to live in a quiet place like this. Just trees, bushes, and clean air. She touched one of the fences. You humans refused our proposal, remember? Ayla looked at Izdis. Aren't you now happy? You're right. Izdis scratched her head. You elves said we need to embrace nature more and live between the trees. Who knew your kind was right? We elves live longer than you humans. When one of our elders speak, your oldest and wise pales in term of experience. Ayla looked at Izdis. Arad looked at them for some reason. He could feel those two won't get along very well. You might be right, but not all elves reach that level. Izdis stared at her, but I will give that to you. Your kind was right, she sighed. Arad smiled. So I was right about buying land in the forest. Izdis turned toward him, her eyes sparkling. I heard from the reports about your noble title that you reside in the dangerous side of the forest. Monsters aren't a problem for you, are they? Monsters aren't stupid. They avoid me and anyone who walks into my lair. Ayla can walk in the forest at night without fearing a monster attack. Arad looked at Izdis. You know me, right? Izdis nodded. He's a dragon, after all, the apex predator of the forest. I bet most monsters will act like that cobra, deciding to submit instead of being killed and eaten. Say, can I visit your house? Izdis looked at Arad with a smile, slightly tilting her head. Yes, Arad replied. No, Ayla replied. Izdis stared at Ayla with a smug smile. I will come to visit at your noble opening party. I hope you don't mind a princess attending. Royal rarely visit low-ranked nobles, let alone their first party. It's going to look weird. Ayla looked at her and then at Arad. She will only spark jealousy between us and Ayla's local nobles, are you sure? Yeah. Ayla looked at Arad. She can come, but she must leave her identity as a princess away. Nobles might act nice with you around, but Lila and Mira are going to be in danger with you away. Ayala looked into the sky. I hope they are okay. It will be white before we could get home, Arad smiled. Don't worry, the monsters are there. They will be fine. Back around Arad's house, trees were being ripped from their roots as two monsters fought. Bam! The Ant Queen ran across the forest, opening her massive mandibles as she rushed at the woman standing in the middle of the forest. Ant Queen, Nina smiled. Your attacks are simple and straightforward. How about you try changing them? She lowered her hand, opening her palm. The Ant Queen rushed at Nina, opening her mandibles to bite. Slap. Nina swung her palm, slapping the Ant Queen into the sky. Bam! The queen landed on the ground, bending her hind legs. Boom! She blasted forward, moving faster than the eye could see and drifting behind Nina. There are only so many moves I can achieve as an ant, she growled, trying to bite Nina's head off. Nina smiled, lifting her palms. The Ant Queen could barely see the after-images of Nina's movements. Slap! In the blink of an eye, she flew away with a crack on her head. Those moves she started slow but suddenly accelerate, confusing the attacker. The Ant Queen watched closely. You and your colony are an S-rank disaster, but you alone are an A-rank monster. You won't reach Arad. Nina smiled, slapping the queen again as she charged. He's an S-rank monster, a dragon. You won't stand by his side like this. Slap, slap, slap. With each slap, Nina sent the Ant Queen rolling. It doesn't matter. The Ant Queen growled, jamming her mandibles on the ground. I stated that I would grow strong enough to fight by his side, the Ant Queen growled, and I will reach it. Crack! The ground shattered as the queen pulled a massive boulder several times her body size, for an at that was already almost as big as Arad's draconic form that caused the boulder to be visible all the way from the city. Ants can carry several times their body weight. Nina smiled. Show me what you can do now, as I won't have time to play with you tomorrow. I have work. She lifted her palm, ready to slap the boulder away. Chapter 306, Setting Off to the Elves. Using your raw strength. Nina smiled. That's the first step forward, but you still need to do more. She stood still, lifting her right palm. Show me what you can do. The Ant Queen lifted the titanic stone with her mandibles, staring at Nina with her eyes, a calm barbarian. I still haven't pushed her anywhere near raging. I'm a bug in front of her. Veins started bulging beneath the queen's exoskeleton as her muscles hardened. This won't be the end, she growled inside, throwing the stone at Nina Clapp. Nina smashed the stone with her palm, retaining a calm face. Even children knew how to throw stones. You have to do better. Crack! The Ant Queen rushed, beating the stone to the other side and catching it with her mandibles. Die, she growled, deflecting the stone back at Nina. I see, Nina smiled, deflecting the stone with ease. She throws the stone and then catches it to throw it again. Clap, slap, crack. Nina kept deflecting the massive stone with her palm, not even bothering to move. The ground started shaking as the two clashed, and the people of Alina cried, hiding in their houses. Is it an earthquake? Mira looked out of Arad's house, seeing a massive dust storm forming where Nina and the Ant Queen clashed. I hope they are all right. She looked back to see Tina glaring out with an angry face. Who's going to wipe all the dust? She growled, and Mira giggled. Us? Nina looked at the stone flying toward her. She was using a massive stone and accelerating the hits. She wants to drain my stamina, relying on her monster nature to survive a battle of attrition. So if this kept out, it will be my loss. Nina smiled. That's what you're thinking, aren't you, Ant Queen? She finally clenched her fist, letting her middle finger pip out a bit. Thud. With a heavy stomp, she swung her fist at the coming stone, shattering it with a single punch. You won't drain my stamina, even with your game. Relying on unconfirmed information is the reason for the majority of deaths. Nina looked around, searching for the queen. She isn't around? Nina then felt a tingling beneath her toes. The ground shook slightly, and she smiled, looking at her feet. beneath the ground, and you're coming up rapidly." As Nina smiled, the queen's mandibles burst from beneath her feet, taking her into the sky. Nina blocked the mandibles with her legs, keeping them apart as the queen tried to close them closed. An attack from below, "You're growing smarter," looked at the queen, clenching her toes around the mandibles. "But don't bite what you can't chew." Crack! With that clench, Nina shattered the queen's mandibles. Grrr. The ant queen growled, falling to the ground. Bam! As the queen crashed, Nina gently landed, staring forward as she barely made a dent in the ground. "If this was a real fight, you would be dead." Nina approached the queen. "I know," the queen growled, barely standing up. "Another time. There is no another time. Your exoskeleton will shatter with another hit from me." Nina stared at the queen. "It's over for today. Go rest, or do you need a healer?" The ant queen looked down. "I'm fine." She crawled into the hole she made, going back to her lair. Upon reaching her nest, she lay in the middle of the cavern, closing her eyes. "Queen." An ant rushed in. "Queen, queen, 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 queen." Hundreds of ants rushed in, surrounding her. "We brought food." They dragged a few monsters they hunted from the forest. "I'm not hungry. I need to sleep." The queen hushed them away as she slowly fell asleep. Crack! Her exoskeleton cracked. Arad walked outside the village with Jack behind him. "Do we have everything?" "I checked twice. We should be good to go," Jack smiled, looking at the carriage. Aella sat in the driver's seat with Isdis, looking back inside at Lydia and Eris. "You two are fine back there?" "You know way." "Yeah, it's comfortable," Lydia replied. "I don't like being here." "There is a paladin with her sword drawn," Eris replied. "Should I kick you into the sun?" Lydia stared at Eris with a smile. "No, thank you," she replied with a straight face, waving her hand. "I don't want to burn to death." Jack jumped into the carriage as Arid walked beside it, then looked back, seeing the second carriage following them. "I will stay with the elves just in case something happens." Aella smiled, not with her around. She looked to the side, seeing the cobra slithering across the bushes, patrolling the forest around the road. Thud. Arad jumped on the elves' carriage, sitting on the roof and watching their surrounding monsters. Rarely approach because of me, and when they do, the cobra kills them. Even though we're traveling by land, the trip should go smoothly. Several hours passed, and night came close. Arad waved his hand at Aella's carriage, signaling for her to pull aside. The carriages stopped. "Are we stopping here?" The elf who drove Arad's carriage looked at him. Arad nodded. "Yeah, we better start setting camp. You lot need sleep, Thud." He jumped down, cracking his back. "I have spent a lot of time sitting. We don't need sleep." The elf replied, "It's dangerous to sit in those parts of the forest." Arad looked at the elf. "Don't worry. In fact, it's safer to camp in monster-infested places." "I'm sure you're wrong about that." The elf sighed, stopping the carriage and jumping down. "Well, I hope you're right about this time at least," he smiled. "Don't worry." Arad looked at the forest. "Monsters won't dare approach. They will keep other people away from us." The elf is right. Staying in places like this is dangerous for humanoids. The only reason monsters aren't attacking is because they can sense you here. They won't dare approach a dragon. Chapter 307, Doma. Drip. Arad looked around, seeing Alla pouring water into the pot above the flames. The night looked peaceful, and the elves weren't lazing around but helping cook dinner. It's too calm. I thought traveling was dangerous. Arad stood walking around the camp, smelling the clean air. Hiss! The cobra slithered beside him. "Is something the matter?" "No, I just wanted to take a walk in the forest." He walked past the cobra into the trees, looking around with a smile. "The trees here are bigger than back in Alina. Do you think this forest is older?" "It looks like that, Ancient, I would say." Mom said, "Look around closely. What do you see?" "Novel Nobe." Arad approached one of the trees, touching the trunk, and looked at the bark. I can see faint traces of magic on the trees. Don't tell me this is another genius loci. No, it isn't. The trees around here have been living for so long that mana started seeping into them. Medical herbs and alchemical ingredients gathered from here should be far stronger than normal. Is that right? Should I bring Ayala and look for some? We might need those later. I won't recommend venturing too deep into the forest. Valuable places like this are usually inhabited by witches. They won't mind you passing by, but if stayed for long, they might attack you. Wait, what are the witches? Arad gasped, moving away from the tree. Don't get scared. They aren't dangerous most of the time. They are sorcerers, manly women. But there are some men here and there. They live in forests like this where they can get ingredients for their spells, and usually fight with druids. Are they strong? Not necessarily. They are sorcerers after all, and their strength doesn't stray far from that. But some of them are experts in curses, which can be hard to deal with. Arad turned to return to the carriage. Curses, like vampirism, those are called high curses that can alter someone. Witches use low and mid curses that can range in power and effects. That keeps sounding more dangerous the more you talk about it. Arad grunted. He hated to deal with things he doesn't see or know how to deal with. I would much rather them attacking head-on. In most encounters with witches, the victim never actually sees or gets close to the witch. They usually use their curses to deter unwanted intruders and only fight when cornered. Arad walked out of the forest, siding. Should we move the camp? We're beside the road, so we should be safe, right? Arad looked forward, seeing the empty road, and stopped. Where is the camp? He gasped, looking left and right. It should have been around here, Arad sighed. Ah, shit, don't tell me it's... He scratched his head violently. We just talked about it. He growled, jumping into the sky and landing on a tree. Please tell me I missed them. He looked around, seeing no traces of the camp. Look at the sky, that might help. You're right. Arad looked at the sky, searching for the stars. He only got more confused. Wait, aren't I a bit far away from where I should be? You're right, we're like 4 miles away. It was probably a protective barrier. It shunts us outside, but on the other side of the forest. Should I take that as a sight that the witch is a bit weak? It would have been better if she sent me to the camp, since I won't notice going through her barrier. You're right. Let's head back. Thud. Arad jumped down and rushed across the forest, running as fast as he could toward where the camp should be, following the stars. Thud. He stopped, finding himself back on the road. I'm back where I started. Should I fly? A barrier shouldn't extend far into the sky. Fly high enough, and you should be fine. Arad smiled, expanding his wings. Void step, he then teleported 400 meters into the sky. This should be high enough. He flapped his wings, flying toward the camp. Ding. Crack. The next moment, his face crashed on the ground, feeling a heavy impact that almost snapped his neck. My head, did I fly straight to the ground? He barely stood, his vision blurred. Ba-dump, ba-dump, ba-dump. His heart started pounding, and it became harder and harder to breathe. He could feel something clenching on his heart as his stomach twisted and his legs felt as light as feathers. Mom, something is wrong, Arad growled, his heart accelerating out of control. Transform that should. Arad blacked out before she could finish speaking. Drip. Arad woke up, his head hurting like hell. Arad, Ayla sat beside him, shaking him as hard as she could.
Don't shake me! I'm awake!
Arad growled, barely sitting up.
Where did you go? Ayla asked, and it was then that Arad noticed everyone staring at him. The sun was already rising. How did I get here? Arad looked around him confused. You just fell from, I don't know, Ayla gasped. We spent the whole night searching for you, Jack sighed. They even let me fly around to look for you. They were really desperate. Eris looked at Arad, covered in the black blanket.
I'm sure I fell into some sort of barrier, got teleported to the other side of the forest. Arad stood, his mind still hazy. Barrier, only witches or druids set those in the forest. Eris approached Arad. Which one was it? Probably a witch, Arad growled. Mom, are you all right? Yeah, I don't remember anything since you passed out. As Arad stood, Jack could see a small piece of paper stuck in his back pocket. Arad, did you have that on you before? Arad reached into his back pocket, pulling the paper out. Something is written on it. Isdis, and the elves stood behind Arad with Aela and Jack as he opened the paper. To Master Arad, thanks for your help. As per the contract, you won't remember anything. But your reward for helping me should be inside your stomach. But beware, it's quite dangerous, as you saw tonight. Again, thanks for your help, and won't forget the time we spent together. I appreciate it, since you're the first to look past my appearance. Truly, thank you. My sincere love and gratitude, Doma. Who? Arad gasped. Chapter 308, Witch's Curse. Arad looked at the paper, confused. He then quickly pulled any extra object from his stomach. Ding. A silver ring fell on the ground, rolling with a spark. Lydia instinctively pulled her sword. This thing? What kind of curse is this? She growled, ready to swing at it. Wait, don't break it, Arad gasped. No, this ring holds more curses than you do. It's better to destroy it before it harms anyone, Lydia growled, swinging her sword down as hard as she could. Divine Cleaver. Clang. The sword hit the ring, flashing with a brilliant light strong enough to blind anyone. But the ring didn't budge. Damn it, Lydia growled, pushing down. This thing is hard. Crack. Her sword shattered into pieces, blasting her back. The ring remained in its blade, sparkling with its curse oozing out like bloodlust. No way. It survived a divine cleaver, Jack gasped, glaring at Arad. What kind of monster did you meet inside? Cling. The ring sparkled, flying toward Arad's left hand and latching on his ring finger. A.W. Arad grunted, grasping his palm. That's hurt. He tried to pull the ring off, but couldn't. Arad, look at your stats. As ar est er a name, Arad Orion, race void dragon. Class, Draconic Mage level, 1720, XP 7/6 serve 70,000, subclass Void Knight. Age stage, very young, 29 years. Stats available: stat points, 0 available. Skill points, 0. Strength 24, Agility 22, Constitution 28, Magic 27. Intelligence 24, Wisdom 24, HP 5445 104 Fev, MP 569 569, SP 527, HP Reg 1 per hour, MP Reg 1 per hour, minutes. Spreg 1 or second, Arcor, Cursed Ring of Doma, a 1PF kind ring created by the witch Doma. It hosts her contract with the destroyer Arad Orion. As per the contract, the ring will provide its power to the destroyer in exchange for feeding the witch. Cursed ring powers. Accursed the holder, find it easier to survive curses. Soulbound. The witch feeds off the host. Special curse. The ring cannot be destroyed or removed by normal means. Deathbound. The witch will do her best to keep the ring-bearer alive. Doma's bane locked by the witch. At start, Arad tried to pull the ring off again, but failed. It was stuck to his finger. It's stuck. Aela looked at Arad. If Lydia couldn't break it, then we need something stronger than a divine cleaver. Arad shook his head. No need for that. He grabbed his finger. I have my solutions. Crack. Arad ripped his finger off with the ring, throwing them away. I can just heal from this. Clack. The moment Arad healed his finger, the ring grew with it as if it was a part of his body, and the torn finger evaporated. Special curses like this cannot be applied without the consent of the target. That means you agreed to this. I didn't agree to anything. What happened yesterday? Arad glared back at the forest. You're speaking aloud, and I don't remember as well. Arad turned toward the forest. The witch should be inside. His eyes flashed purple. I will ask her directly. Wait. Jack tried to catch Arad, but he failed as Arad didn't wait to blast forward, running as fast as he could. Let's follow him. Lydia pulled a spare sword from the carriage and rushed after Arad without waiting for a second, and soon everyone followed her. Arad ran between the trees, keeping his eyes open for an attack. Witch! Show yourself! He shouted. But something looked off. There was no magic in the trees or ground like yesterday. The forest seemed far too normal. Arad looked left and right. There was no magic to follow. Fine, I will find you another way. He squatted, the muscles on his thighs bulging from the sky. Boom, with a single jump. Arad flew into the sky, opening his black draconic wings and looking down. It should be easy, but I could find traces from up here. Arad stopped mid-air, staring down with a dumbfounded face. It shouldn't be easy, should it? He scratched his head, seeing a massive tree with a house on top in the middle of the forest. The barrier should be hiding the witch's house. The fact it's visible means the barrier has fallen. That explains the no magic around here. Arad flew toward the large treehouse, landing in the massive garden at its feet. This place, he looked around, overgrown bushes, fallen trees, crumbling houses that got overrun with veins and dust. It looks abandoned, as if no one set foot here for decades. Crack. As Arad looked around, the ground started shaking as magic swelled from the depth of the garden. Bam. Arad jumped back. Something big is coming. A large stone hand burst from the ground, oozing with curses. Mistress Doma crack. A large stone golem rose from the ground, glaring at Arad. Finally he came back. He glared at Arad with glowing purple eyes. "Who are you?" Arad growled, cracking his fists. "You almost hurt my feeling, Arad, the destroyer." The golem conjured a stone claymore. "As per my contract with Mistress Doma, I'm to do my best to kill you and stain the garden with your blood." Wait? Why? Arad gasped. "I came here to ask her to remove the ring she stuck to me last night." "Mistress has been dead for decades." The golem glared at Arad. "She knew you will come here one day to seek the ring's removal, and so she instructed me to try and kill you. Something isn't adding up. You met the witch yesterday for the first time? You're a few months old and could in no way have met her if she's dead for decades. Then let the show begin." Clang. The golem stabbed the ground with his sword. "Beat me and explore the house, or die as Mistress wished." The moment the golem released his curse, Arad could feel a heavy lump stuck in his throat. He could barely breathe. Jack, Aella, and the rest who followed Arad into the mansion fell on their knees, throwing up. Lydia grunted, barely gazing at the golem. A cursed soul. A humanoid cursed for eternal life as a stone golem. What horrid witchcraft the witch here was involved in. Bam. Arad landed in front of the golem, pulling his sword out. "I wonder if a sword is a decent weapon to use against a stone. Should I keep a hammer or a pickaxe in my stomach?" He smiled as the void engulfed the blade. "It doesn't matter." The golem growled as Arad's arms started turning into stone. Be cursed to death, Chapter 309, Stone Golem Badump. Arad could feel his heartbeats as stone engulfed his arms, curse of petrification. Bam! He jumped back, flexing the muscles on his arms to shatter the stone. Crack! The golem rushed forward, swinging his massive claymore at Arad's torso. "You can't run away." Arad lifted his sword, blocking the strike. He could feel the air kicked out of his lungs as he rolled back. Clang! "What kind of raw power is this?" he gasped. "Arad." Alla screamed, pulling her bow at the golem wind blast. She fired 3 arrows. The arrows flew at a blinding speed, connecting with the golem's torso and exploding in a violent storm. Mere wind shall not shake the might of stones. The golem grew, glaring at Alla. Bee-stone, crack. In a flash, Alla's body turned into stone. Bam. Arad lunged forward at the golem, clenching his fist. Die thud. Jack appeared behind the golem, pointing his arm cannon at his back. Kaboom, thwack. As the 2 hits connected, a dust storm formed around the golem. "Is he dead?" Jack quickly reloaded and aimed again. "Let me blast him again for good measure." Look! The golem's hand extended from the dust, catching Jack by the face. What a weak human. Swash. He threw him into the sky with ease. Jack growled, quickly switching his arm charge into the hook. Boom! He fired it at a tree and swung back to the ground. Arad glared at the golem's torso. I need to hit him harder. He instantly stored his sword. Slashing attacks probably won't work. Ha! Arad growled, swinging his fist at the golem's torso with zeal. Thwack! Thwack! Hora! He screamed, throwing punches as fast as he could, aiming at a single spot. Useless! The golem swung his claymore at Arad's torso, hitting him in a straight line from his collarbone to his hips. Bam! The hit sent Arad flying toward the trees. Arad grunted, feeling a sharp pain across his torso, but the dull stone claymore didn't cut him. He has to have a weakness. Crack. Arad twisted his body, landing feet first on a tree. Crack. Arad instantly jumped back at the golem, clenching his fist. Clang. The golem hit Arad again as if he was a baseball ball, sending him back to the forest. Thud. Arad bounced back at the golem without a moment rest. Let me punch you. Clan, clang. The golem deflected Arad again and again without avail. The dragon wasn't slowing down. Great power and endurance, no matter how many times I hit him. He instantly bounced back for the next attack. The golem thought, staring at Arad flying at him. He will soon get a hit in, but that won't matter as long as he doesn't figure out how my curse works. That's why I called their attacks useless. Lydia looked at Arad charging at the golem like a mad man. We need more firepower. She rushed toward the petrified Ayla and touched her. Holy wave crack. The stone shattered, and Ayla fell on her face, gasping for air. Thank the gods it worked. Can you fight? Ayla didn't respond and aimed her bow at the golem, focusing all of her magic on the tip of her arrow. Thud. Lydia smacked her on the head. Calm down. Stop your magic. It won't damage the cursed golem. She grabbed the tip of the arrow in her hand. Let me do something. Lydia's hand flashed with a brilliant light. I can't feel his weak point, so aim at the middle of his torso. Ayla took a deep breath. Got it, bam! Ella fired the holy infused arrow at the golem. Please just die. The arrow hit the golem's torso, clashing with a brilliant light. Divine cleaver. Crack. The arrow shattered as the golem glared at Lydia and Ella. Holy magic won't work against Mistress's curses, he said, swinging his claymore and deflecting Arad like a ball. How about you stay out of the fight? He pointed his hand at them. My business is with the destroyer. Crack. Ayla, Lydia, and the elves all turned into stone, frozen in place. Thud. Jack appeared behind the golem, aiming his arm cannon at its left knee. Kaboom, bo-bo-boom, in rapid succession. He fired all 4 chambers at once, shattering the golem's knee. The golem started falling forward, and Arad charged in the blink of an eye. Roar! Crack! He screamed, swinging his leg with a full power kick. Crack! Arad's foot connected with the fallen golem's face. Thwack! Spinning him in place. Jack rolled away to avoid the crashing golem. Get him, Arad! He shouted. Vroom! A loud rumbling burst from Arad's chest as he caught the golem by the head, his eyes flashing with a purple light. Grag-grag-grag! The muscles on Arad's arms and back bugled as his thighs tore his pants. You don't go petrifying Ayla twice. Arad swung the golem up and smacked him on the ground, shattering the ground and causing an earthquake. The status of Ayla and the elves got thrown into the air from the impact. They are going to break. Jack looked back, unable to do anything to catch them all. The golem lifted his hand and everyone returned to normal as they hit the ground. What? Lydia growled, but she soon got turned back into stone. Thud. The golem grabbed Arad by the neck. You reckless bastard, he stood, all of his cracks fixed. You almost killed your own allies. Arad opened his mouth. Roar, lasting the golem with a void breath, and forcing the golem to release him. With a swift move, he grabbed the golem's claymore, taking it and rolling back. The golem stared at Arad standing, carrying the massive claymore, which was almost as tall as him. Do you think you can use it? The golem stared at Arad. It doesn't matter as long as it's something I can smash you with, Arad growled, void engulfing the claymore. This one is mine now. Fine. Let's see what you can do. The golem clenched his fists, taking a stance. Chapter 310, Albert Python. Arad glared at the golem, lifting the massive claymore on his shoulder. It's heavy and blunt. This thing cannot be cut. It only crushes. A hammer is disguised as a blade. Arad smiled, gravity magic vroom. A wave of purple gravity magic rose around Arad, increasing his and the claymore's weight. He's making it even heavier, as expected of a dragon. Most humans won't be able to lift that weapon, let alone fight with it. The golem clenched his fists, lunging at Arad. "Destroyer, show me what you can do." The golem growled, swinging his fist at Arad's face. Clang! Arad swung the claymore down, deflecting the golem's fist. "You're light," he smiled, swinging the blade up instantly. Clang! He sent the golem flying like he was nothing. "Come on! Call your mistress and tell her to take the ring off." The golem glared down. "You tell her in your grave, shadow of the tombs." Crack! The ground around Arad cracked, opening into a massive grave and sucking him inside. "Those who live shall die, buried alive in the depth of stones." Bam! The golem landed on his feet, staring at the pile of dirt. Thud! The claymore pierced the ground, sticking out with a dark gust of wing gushing from it. Clang! Clang! The claymore swung around, blasting a hole in the ground as Arad walked out, carrying it on his shoulder. "I like this thing. It fits me perfectly," he smiled, glaring at the golem. "You survived my curse?" The golem stared at him with a calm demeanor. "I see you aren't the destroyer for no reason. A curse?" Arad looked at the golem, his eyes glowing with a purple light. "You just put me underground and tried to crush me with dirt and stones. That won't kill an ant." "You don't say?" The golem stared at Arad. "That spell should be really effective at restraining and strangling people. The first was supposed to craw into your lungs." Arad lifted the claymore and looked at the golem. "Void step Zon." He teleported behind him, swinging sideways. Clang! The golem conjured a second claymore, stopping Arad's strike. "I can make more." The golem looked back at Arad. Clang! He deflected him back into the trees. Creak! Arad stopped himself with the claymore, staring at the golem with a smile. "Release them now. They will get released if you killed me." The golem pointed at Arad with his sword. "Otherwise, you will die with them." "I see, fine. You asked for it." Crack! Arad's shirt and shoes shattered into pieces, revealing his bulging muscles as tiny purple scales spanned his body. Crackle! Swash, flame, and lightning started gushing from Arad's upper body as ice froze the ground beneath his feet. The space around Arad started morphing like mist, twisting and twirling. He doesn't have control over it. The golem stared at Arad. He doesn't understand or know how to use the void, not even close. The golem lifted his sword. "That's to be expected. I would have already lost if he knew what he was doing. Even wormling void dragons should be able to beat me with ease if they knew how the void work." The golem smiled inside. "Come at me, void brat. You won't get Doma as long as I stand," he shouted as Arad blasted forward. Clang! The two clashed their swords. The golem looked at the ground. Dust storm dust rose from the ground, masking Arad's flames and starving them from the air. Lightning as well wasn't that effective, as the golem naturally discharged it to the ground. Arad opened his mouth, trying to charge a void breath. "You're too naive." The golem smiled, conjuring a stone spike that pierced Arad's chest, putting an end to his struggle and breath. "I told her. Relying on stupid divinations will never work." The golem sighed, watching Arad's bleeding corpse. Thud! Arad's arm moved and grabbed the golem by the head. "Stones are technically dead, aren't they?" Arad mumbled, and the golem's body started shattering and getting absorbed into Arad's stomach. "Heh!" The golem giggled. "You're a stubborn one." He stepped back, disintegrating. "Go into the tree." Thud! Arad fell on his face, blinking. "Where did he go?" He looked around, only to see a skeleton on the ground. Albert Python, those words were carved on the skull's forehead. "Did I win?" Arad looked closer at the skeleton, confused. No, Erg, everyone is getting freed. The golem was defeated. Jack shouted as he saw Lydia and the rest turning back to normal. But I didn't defeat him. I didn't even get to absorb him. Why did he die? Arad stood looking around. Like, I know, Jack shouted back. You might have hit a weak point on his head. Are you sure? Arad looked at the claymore. It wasn't disappearing. I guess I'm keeping this one. He stored it in his stomach and walked back. Arad, are you all right? Alla rushed toward him, and he smiled. I should be the one asking. Is everyone fine? Lydia scratched her head with how much curses dripped from that thing. I find it strange. No one died or got harmed. Lydia is right. He seemed uninterested in killing anyone besides you. He looked at Arad with a smile. Did you piss him over last night? I don't remember anything. This is the first time I saw that thing, Arad cried. He came out of the ground. There is no way he buried himself yesterday. You're right. The garden's ground wasn't disturbed. He was buried a long time ago. One of the elves scratched his chin. My guts are telling me it's dangerous to stay here, but I will do my best to help you search the place if you so wished. It's dangerous to have you around. Jack looked at the elves. I would much rather you stay here while we go inside. Jack is right. We were trying to take your hope. This whole mess is unrelated to you. Lydia sighed. She hated dragging civilians into dangerous fights. Chapter 311, Accursed House. I will explore the inside of the treehouse alone. You stay here and wait, Arad looked at them, turning toward the tree. I will go with you, Ella stood beside Arad. You're an archer. Fighting indoors isn't your specialty. Arad looked at her, cracking his neck. I go inside alone. It's too dangerous. What about me? The black rag approached Arad, wiggling in place. Eris, you will survive a hit or two, Arad smiled. I can't fight here due to the sun, but I will be able to go all out inside that treehouse. She smiled beneath the rag, and burn the whole place down. Please don't, Arad sighed, and Jack approached them. I can sneak around and search for clues. Don't do it. Lydia approached them. Curses aren't something you can sneak around unless you can see or smell them. Arad looked at her, smiling. You go with Jack and explore the garden. Aella and Isdis will protect the elves, while I and Iris will explore the treehouse. Sounds like a plan, a half-baked one, but it should be a start. Jack waved his hand, walking with Lydia by his side. Arad and Iris approached the treehouse, standing in front of the door and looking at it. This place stinks, Arad growled. The smell of rot, at least. This is wood rot and not corpses. Eris touched the door, pushing it open. Let's get inside. I'm getting sick of this rag. Fine, fine. Arad followed her inside the house, and she threw the rag on the ground, stretching her arms. Hey, it's always nice to be able to move freely. Don't throw it. Arad picked up the rag and stored it in his stomach. You will need it to walk outside. Eris looked at Arad. I heard people in the east have some large clothes to cover them under the desert sun. Should I pick one of them? I don't know what you're talking about, but if it's something that won't stand out, then do it. Arad stared at her, having no idea what she was talking about. The two walked into the main hall. This place is bigger on the inside than what it looks on the outside. Spatial domain. It's a magic that slightly expands space, a divergent type of storage magic. Eris replied. I heard of it, but never saw someone who could use it. Heard of it like a spell in tomes? Arad looked at her. No, I heard the royal treasury is made with one of those spatial domains. Eris scratched her head, remembering the information she heard from the Thieves' Guild in Rita. The man named Gojo was planning to break into it, wasn't he? How stupid is it to plan a heist on the royal treasury, and what does he want? Where did you hear of that? Shouldn't such a thing be a secret? Arad looked at her. The thieves in Rita, the ones you robbed. She stared at him with a smile. Didn't you get this information as well? I don't remember, but I got a lot of papers, and they are with Alcott. Arad looked at her. Let's search. He walked toward the wall and pulled one of the paintings on the wall. A great green snake coiled around a golden goblet filled with blood. What a strange thing. Art is always strange. Eris looked at it, but it's sure the place looks creepy. She stared around at the rusted chandeliers and torn carpets. Bugs crawled out of the wall holes, scrambling to escape the first guests in decades. This place is oozing with strange magic. It's the curses Lydia talked about? Eris walked toward Arad. We should be careful. We might face another golem, Erd Noraregi. Arad looked at her. Are you scared? I can beat it, he smiled. From what I saw last time seemed like pure luck. She stared at him with a dubious look. Even if it was luck, I now know that I can kill him by destroying the head. I can do it again. Arad smiled, cracking his fists. Is that so? Don't count on that, Eris walked forward. The magic is stronger from this direction? Should we follow it up? That direction? Arad scratched his head. But it's changing. What are you talking about? Eris looked back at Arad. The magic intensity, it's shifting. Arad pointed toward a wooden door. It's the strongest from here. He then pointed at the door beside it, and now it's the strongest behind this. Are you saying the source is moving? Eris stared at Arad. We can be sure it's another golem. Either way, we need to follow it up to find the witch. Arad walked forward and opened the door, walking down the hallway with Eris behind him. This place is getting more humid. It's becoming hard to breathe. Eris pulled a rug from her pocket and covered her nose. What are you talking about? The moment Arad looked at Eris, he felt a slight shift in the magic surrounding the house. It's two sources, Arad gasped. I can feel it, Eris growled. One source is in the room ahead of us. The other one is in another room. Two golems, not those ones are static. Arad approached the door. They were sensing the magic behind. Get ready for a fight. Arad slowly pushed the door open. They were faced with a library full of books and dust. Arad walked toward the middle, where a skeleton wearing an old robe sat on a wooden chair beside a small table. The curse is coming from this skeleton. Arad and Eris approached, taking a closer look. Arad, look! Eris walked toward the table and picked a painting. 3 people stood beside each other, a man and a woman, and a little girl sitting between them in a white dress. She read what was written behind the painting. Albert Python, Medusa Deianira, and their daughter Doma Python. Eris scratched her head. Is this the witch's skeleton? Doma, wasn't it the name on the letter you received? Wait. The golem outside was her father. Arad gasped, feeling a large wet tongue licking his back. You have my doctor's wedding ring, don't you? A crackling voice growled from behind him, sending shivers down his spine. Don't fucking look back, Eris growled, staring straight forward. Chapter 312. Medusa's Attack. It's you. The destroyer again, the voice behind Arad hissed. I thought it would be some time before you return. Arad stood still, feeling the oppressive monster behind them. This feeling, it's far heavier than the golem outside. Arad could feel the magic oozing from the monster. What happened to the witch? What happened to Doma? Arad grunted. My sweet daughter? She died almost a century ago of old age. The voice behind Arad growled. At the young age of 12, she dreamt of flying on a great black dragon, so she studied the witch arts to search for that dragon. Dead. Who gave me the letter? What happened last night? Arad wanted to turn around, but he didn't dare look at the monster. When I bought Albert, I never knew this could happen. The monster's voice cracked. Doma was born, and she quickly grew into a splendid witch, but even she couldn't beat time. Clang. The monster smacked the wall with her tail. Albert and I slept first, but she woke us, cursed to wander her hut until the dragon she dreamt of comes. We were to then give you her letter and ring, and then kill you when you come back, sending you to her. The monster wiggled. You're the one who gave Arad the ring? Eris asked. Crack. The monster swung her tail, smacking Eris to the wall. Shut up, woman. Arad gasped. He couldn't see her attack. I'm talking with the destroyer. Don't butt in, cursed vampire. The monster growled as Arad stared at the tip of its large green tail. Eris started regeneration. Such a hit won't harm her too much. So you're saying that Doma asked you to kill me? Arad asked with a calm voice. she said to try. That would free us from the curse, the voice replied. I used to be a beautiful elf woman. Right now, no one dares to look at my face. And those who do dies as stones, fine. Arad sighed, pulling an old rug from his stomach and wrapping it around his eyes. Just let me get ready. You want to fight me blinded, aren't you overconfident? The monster giggled. It's my only option. I will lose instantly if I looked at you. Arad wrapped his eyes and smiled. I have other ways to see, even without his vision. He could still see her magic blood and hormones from beneath his blindfold. My eyes are far superior to yours. Arad started floating as he pointed at the monster. You have to avoid eye-to-eye contact. Unlike what the rumors might lead people to believe, all the snakes on her head can petrify. So looking at her from any direction is the end. You took Albert's sword, won't you use it against me? The large coiled Medusa growled, clenching her claws as she hissed, the snakes on her head writhing like dying worms. Looking at the flow of your magic, fighting you with physical attacks should be meaningless. Arad could see a high density of magic in the Medusa's scales, and, judging by the flow of her blood, her physical strength should be superior to him, even in dragon form. It's like a lion facing an anaconda. It's all over if it coiled around him. I have to keep moving and blast here from a distance until I claw her scales out. Swash. In the blink of an eye, the Medusa swung her tail at Arad's chest. Zon! Arad teleported behind her, keeping his finger pointing at her. Firebolt, firebolt, firebolt! Medusa twisted her upper torso, dodging Arad's fireballs with ease as she opened her jaw. Splash! 2 streams of poison splashed forth, covering the air around Arad Tap. Arad landed, tapping his foot on the ground. Crack! A wave of cold magic rushed from his leg, freezing the position midair. How much magic did you infuse in this attack? It's terrifying. Arad couldn't see, so he won't be able to tell if what she sent at him was a spell or something else. He can only tell by magic and his other senses. And it smells bad, burning my throat. He coughed, unleashing a lightning breath out of nowhere. Jai! Medusa swung her fist up, blocking the lightning breath, but getting her scales slightly burned. You masked it with a cough. You're crafty, aren't you? Crafty? Arad shook his head, waving his hands. Not at all. I'm just doing my best. He clapped his hands together, smiling. Gravity magic. Reverse gravity swash. In the blink of an eye, Medusa fell upward, smashing through the ceiling and breaking the second floor. Bam! She finally shattered the ceiling and flew into the sky. Look, it's a giant Isdis, growled, but she turned into a stone the moment her eyes fell on Medusa. Everyone looked up and ended up turned to stone again. All except Jack, who was invisible. For a Medusa to petrify someone, their eyes need to meet. That means if she can't see someone, she can't turn him into stone. Jack could see her, but the second condition wasn't met. Swash! Arad flew after Medusa, flapping his wings. Flying blind is hard. I can barely balance myself, he grunted. Don't worry. Look down. You can see Aella and the others' magic, can't you? They are at ground level, so use them as a reference. Arad appeared a few meters away, his legs bleeding as they healed. That was close. You're fast, aren't you? He looked down as Medusa crashed to the ground, destroying half of the mansion. Medusa looked up. He's weaker than me, yet fighting me, blinded. Her eyes stopped at the ring on Arad's hand. You aren't helping him, are you, Doma? Chapter 313. The true curses are dangerous. Arad stared down. Unlike the golem, my fire and lighting can harm you. He smiled. You might be stronger and faster and have a more potent curse, but that all is meaningless as long as you don't hit me. Medusa smiled, her opal fangs glowing under the sunlight. Do you think curses are so simple? She giggled, lifting her right hand and making an OK sign, looking at Arad through her fingers. What are you talking about? You can't petrify me. Arad smiled. Curse manipulation, stone slaves, pew thud. An arrow flew across the air, piercing Arad's skull. With his magic sense, he could see Aella pointing her bow at him. What is she doing? Clap. A blast of air followed it, shaking his organs and dropping him to the ground. In the right hands and with the right skills, curses can even trick the gods, and that is why they are deemed evil by nature. Medusa smiled. So taste it. The blade of the gods. Crack. Lydia landed beside Arad, swinging a stone sword. Divine cleaver clap. With a brilliant golden flash, Arad's body got severed in half across the torso, sending the two parts flying at a terrifying speed, getting pulverized in the trees of the forest. Clack. Isdis jumped from the bushes, pulling the string on her biwa. Ding. Arad's blood and torn flesh froze into ice, dangling from the branches like red decorations. See? Medusa smiled. You can't beat curses. Swash. Arad's flesh got consumed in a dark mist, exploding in a blast that sent everyone flying. Roar. 4 wings emerged in the forest as the dragon glared forward, enraged to the bones. Medusa smiled, staring at Arad's draconic form, finally getting serious. Did that smite hurt you this much? She giggled, pointing at Arad with both hands. Let me show you more curses. Tombstone of Crack before she could cast the next spell. She felt a sharp pain in her eyes as she went blind. Bam! She then felt a horrid pain up here, but as something blasted the soft spots beneath her tail. I don't know why, but your curse didn't affect me, Jack said with a smile, sitting on Medusa's shoulders, stabbing 2 daggers in her eyes. Damn, her body is hard. The only soft spots I could harm are her eyes and beneath her tail. I don't know if this is enough to kill her quickly enough. Jack released his hand and aimed at her neck with his cannon. A steel stake up your ass, and now a blast to the neck. Can you bleed out and die? Boom! Jack blasted half of her neck off, sending blood splashing everywhere. Damn it, didn't tear it off. Jack grunted as Medusa growled in agony. Roar. Jack saw Arad charging toward them, enraged. Oh shit, he's going to chomp me down with her. He aimed at the trees with the hook, swinging away before Arad could lung at Medusa's torn body. That's it. Eat her alive. Jack smiled, seeing Arad bite Medusa, but he soon felt a sharp pain in his chest. B.A. dump. What's now? He looked down, seeing several bite marks on his clothes. Damn it. The snakes pierced the armor. His body turned into stone and fell to the ground. Medusa's snake's hair managed to land several solid bites as he sat on her shoulder. Thud, Medusa pushed Arad by the chest, wrapping her tail around his neck and pulling back, White strangling him. Get away from me, she growled as her wounds healed. Fuck them rogues, always showing out of nowhere and stabbing in the back. Where was he hiding? Crack. Arad's pushed on the ground with his hind legs, growling as his muscles bulged. The void slowly seeped from his body as he grabbed Medusa's head with his claws. You persistent dragon, she growled, biting his hand as his palm was on her face. The rogue took it easy, getting bitten by my snakes. You, on the other hand, won't last long. This position is directly from me. Arad's draconic body started petrifying from his hand. Vroom! Arad's heart rumbled, beating faster than it did before. Void cloak, just how fire cloak worked. Just instead of covering his body with flames, he directly covered it with the void, infinite void. Since Arad already released his void outside his body, an infinite void stretched beneath his skin and into veins, turning the internal structure of his body into an infinite sinkhole. Medusa gasped as she felt her poison getting violently sucked out of her fangs as Arad's petrified arm started returning to normal. This bastard, where is he putting my poison? She couldn't believe her eyes, but it doesn't matter. As long as I kill him. Medusa swung her claw, piercing Arad's chest and aiming for his heart. Now you die. Curse of stones. Swash. Medusa's vision went black, feeling a heavy pressure on her skin as she stopped feeling Arad's hand on her face. Drip! She could hear a droplet of water falling behind her back. As she turned, she saw a massive dragon glaring at her. Who is it? She growled, pointing her hand at it, but soon realized the dragon was chained with a woman sitting on its back. Thanks for your help, Mom. Now you can rest. Go and meet Father. He's been waiting for a while. The woman on top of the dragon smiled, lifting her right hand and making an okay sign, looking at Medusa. Doma. Medusa gasped as her body disintegrated into fine dust. Doma? Mom growled. Are you that witch? How can you exist here? Doma looked down at Mom. Mother-in-law, nice to meet you. She smiled. Get off my back. Mom growled, trying her best to break the chains and bite Doma. Don't even try. Your power is related to my dear Arad. Right now, neither of you can match me, she smiled. Bidnov kom, zwash. Medusa's body disintegrated. A humanoid skeleton fell on the ground with the name Medusa carved on its skull in front of Arad. Arad stopped, staring at the bones. Did she die? Why? I was hoping you went into the world and fought other curses, but I'm glad I laid a second plan for you to fight my parents. A voice boomed in Arad's head.
Wait, who are you? Where is Mom?
Arad gasped. She's here with me, but I'm dominating your inner world now, as I'm the strongest. My name is Doma. Nice to meet you, darling. She giggled. Explain, and get out of my head. Arad roared, Chapter 314, Getting a Mentor. Get out of my head, Arad growled, and Doma laughed. Sorry, but I can't even if I wanted to. She smiled, flicking her fingers and releasing Mom. You can call me Doma, the Witch of Curses. She jumped off Mom's back and walked forward. I was born 673 years in the past. She ignored Arad's angry grunts and started telling her life story. After getting kicked out of the Elvish kingdom, my mother was branded a monster, so she had to live alone. On her way out, she stole a slave from the city and ran with him as her assistant. That was my father, the one you fought in the garden. Surprisingly, I was born just a few years later wielding my mother's powers. And I got a special boon, the ability to understand curses by nature since my mother was a curse user. Curses are a type of magic that leverages double-edged effects. Petrification was developed first to preserve sick people for the future, but it caused most of them to suicide after getting freed decades later due to mental degradation, and staying in the dark for a long time couldn't be healthy. By the age of 12, I already mastered hundreds of curses and even developed my own curse. Divination is the one I made, knowing forbidden knowledge is something the goddess of magic kept warning people about, as it's only forbidden since it breaks the one who learn it. Using my curse, I looked for a way to prolong my life, only to further understand the root of curses and how to dispel the greatest curse placed upon us by the gods, death. It was then that I saw you. Doma smiled, looking into the darkness and seeing Arad's face, a dragon with a curse engraved on his soul and race. We two could help each other and benefit from our combined abilities. What are babbling about? Arad growled. The reason you race repel each other is because of a curse. It will take a long time for me to understand it and longer to break it, but I can do it. In exchange, I want to live inside you until I manage to create a powerful enough body to host me, and your void will be really helpful. How did you get in my head in the first place? Arad grunted, grasping his head. The ring. The moment you woke up, I had already invaded your mind. I only needed to absorb some curses to manifest like this. Doma smiled. Don't worry. I would have already killed your soul and taken over your body if I wanted to. But I'm here so both of us can help each other. Thud. Arad sat down, sighing. Fine, I don't think I can kick you out of my head. So what do you want? I already told you, Doma smiled. I need curses to regain my power, so I would be grateful if you hunted them down for me. In exchange, I will teach you how to use curses and the true way to use your void. You can teach me about the void? Arad gasped. Yeah, I knew I would be meeting you, so I studied your magic. I should prove more useful than this curse behind me, she pointed at Mom. Mom isn't a curse, Arad growled. No, she is. Doma looked dumbfounded. She's a consciousness fragment tied to your soul. Since she can both help or lead you astray, she is a curse. So it's just a definition, Arad sighed. I will make the first move, Doma smiled. At your current level, you're strong for normal people and monsters, but weak as hell as a void dragon. Doma smiled. Let's start with the void itself. Do you know what it is? Nothingness, Arad replied. True. And where does it exist? Where nothing exists, Arad said, lifting an eyebrow. Wrong, Doma grunted, crossing her arms. You couldn't be far from the truth. You're a failure void dragon. Your voice is pissing me off. Deal with it. We're living together now, married for life. Doma smiled, jumping around and lifting her hands up. Void exists within everything else. It exists where matter exists, inside it, around it, and with its very composition. That sounds wrong. Arad stood looking at Aella and the rest. We should build a camp around here. I want to rest for a bit. Yeah. Aella nodded, looking around confused. I expect an explanation later. No O-O-N-O-O-N Weth. Yeah. Arad nodded with a smile. Don't flirt with other girls while we're talking. Doma grunted inside his head, tapping the ground of his mind with her fist. Fine, fine. Voids exist everywhere, right? Arad closed his eyes. Everything is made of small particles and void is what holds them together. Even those particles are full of void. If you controlled the void, you control the world at a particle level, something even magic can't achieve. I don't understand. Arad scratched his head. Are saying that nothing exists within something? This is the best I can do. The rest is up to your imagination. Doma smiled. Once you comprehend that, I will teach you more. Taking things slowly is important, since you will kill everyone if you lost control. Fine, but what about curses? You already have multiple vampirism, lycanthropy, Mom, and now me. Doma replied, standing in Arad's vision like a ghost. Albeit you can't control me or Mom, not like I can fully control vampirism or lycanthropy either. To me, they more like skills and spells that are something to worry about controlling. Arad sighed. That's your biggest problem. Doma put her hand on Arad's head. You can't expect power without learning about your abilities. You should seek vampire and werewolves books and literature, find powerful people to train with. And who are those people you're talking about? Doma scratched her chin. I will teach you about voids and curses, but I don't know much about the other two. Shall we search for a master to teach you? I guess it would make sense for me to train. Chapter 315. A horrible witch, or A. Jack walked out of his tent, stretching his arms with a grunt. My ankle still hurts. He wiggled his leg. I don't think it's broken, but it should recover. Clap. Lydia smacked the back of his head. Say that earlier. She dragged him back to the tent. We need you in top shape. I will cast a healing spell on you. Let me go. It will fix itself. Jack growled. Right now, you're the only one who managed to match Arad when fighting the Medusa. Without you, he might have lost. Lydia growled as she dragged him back into the tent. Arad looked at them and then turned back to Aella. How are you feeling? Any remnants of the petrification? Aella shook her head. No, I'm fine. She smiled. But my magic is flowing better than before. Mother made you compress so much magic into the arrow you fired at Arad that might have cleared your magic circuit. A woman's voice came out of Arad's chest. Can you stop speaking? Aella glared at Arad's chest. Why are you inside him again? To teach him about the void and use him to get a body, Doma replied. If you compressed the void and relaxed it rapidly, you can create vibration through the air, and that is sound. With enough skill, you can tune it to mimic anyone you like. Arad sighed. I guess it's what you're using to speak now. Of course I can increase the wave's strength, enough to rip eardrums off. You should be able to do it, but you must muster the skill. Arad looked at his palm, focusing. The best he could make was a monotonous whine like that of tree branches. Aella, Arad, can I enter? Isdis called from outside the tent. What is it? Aella replied, and Isdis moved the curtain and crawled inside. How is Arad doing? I'm here, ask me directly. Arad looked at her. I don't know if it's you or that woman speaking. Isdis stared back at him. The curse witch, I read about her in the royal library. Really? What do human books say about me? A really horrible witch who caused several plagues, killed thousands of people, and cursed both the human and elf armies to death when they were about to fight near her hut. No one was able to kill you until you died of old age at 245 years. Isdis stared at Arad. You were as feared as Nina the Berserker is now. Aella scratched her head. Someone of her strength should have lived longer. How could she have died of old age? And wasn't she an elf? She should have reached at least 800 years. It's true that I died of old age. Some of my powerful curses eat away at my lifespan. Those have reduced my life quite a bit. Without them, I might have lived well over 2,000 years, Doma replied with a giggle. You humans always prayed to the gods that I would die, so don't complain. Who is complaining? Isdis growled. Arad looked at his chest. I don't think you had a reason to kill all those people, or did you? Of course I do. They attacked first. The fear of my power drove them to seek my life, and I won't die without a fight. Doma laughed. I guess they learned their lesson if they aren't attacking the woman called Nina. Isdis looked down. She's right. There has been a past will in the royal family to never mess with people considered strong enough like Nina or the Crimson Blood Scarlet. Fighting them will cause more damage than it could fix. You heard her, Arad? Your goal should be to become strong enough that they wouldn't dare mess with you. Aella stared at Arad. There is something I wanted to ask you about. Your mother was a Deianira, just like me. You're right, your bloodline was cursed and blessed after us, wasn't it? Doma replied, shaking her hand inside Arad's head. The blessing is the grace of Zephyr, and the curse is something I placed on my aunt. I know it. You had a hand in it. Aella growled, almost reaching for her bow. Your curse prevents your bloodline from awakening their full power. Since they can turn into snake monsters like my mother, Medusa, sadly, that also prevents you from using the wind blessing. I will turn into a snake? Aella gasped. That couldn't be true. You might be right. I didn't check on Deianira while dead. But I would advise against removing my curse at least until it's been confirmed that you won't transform, Doma replied in a calm voice. You might even be able to mix poison, petrification, and wind with your archery. Imagine a city-sized quid of poison, followed by a rain of petrification arrows. You can be as much a monster as me if you mastered your full power. That's harder said than done. How could we even confirm such a thing? Aella sighed, looking at the tent's ceiling. I should be able to figure it out with enough power, so we need to have Arad gather more curses for me, like hunting vampires, werewolves, and other cursed monsters. We all need to grow stronger. Arad looked at Aella and Isdis. I will find a way to deal with her. He pointed at his chest. It's me, Doma, not her. Doma grunted with a sad voice. Arad stood, walking out of the tent. We should get going. We still didn't make it to the elves' kingdom. Elves, Doma sighed. Elves, Doma sighed. Fiat, stupid queen, should be alive, shouldn't her? What queen? Arad gasped. Won't it be helpful if you know the elvish queen? She's the one who kicked Mother out of the elvish capital. When I grew up and realized what she did, I returned to the elvish capital and hanged the queen naked in the middle of the plaza for a week. Arad grunted. They won't like you coming back. The queen sent an army to subjugate me, so I hanged everyone naked in the capital like laundry. It was known as the Great Stripping, and the elves see the incident as more insulting than some massacres. Arad could see Doma staring down with dead eyes. I only meant to teleport them back to the capital and be annoying. I didn't know my magic won't be enough, and that I will send them without their clothes. We will have a hard time, Arad sighed. If they dared attack you, you can always let me take over your body. I will draw the full power of your void and crush them to dust. You can trust me. Doma gave Arad a thumbs up. No, thank you. Chapter 316 Doma's Training. Thud Arad walked away from the carriage as they stopped for lunch. Lydia followed him, carrying the sword that he got from Alcott. You sure I can use this? She said, staring at his back. Noob, your sword broke. It's the strongest we have, Arad looked back, and that witch asked that you use a decent sword. It's Doma. A voice boomed from inside Arad. I've been teaching you about mana since we departed. How about some practice? Arad sighed. Can you stop speaking from my stomach for a moment? Arad faced a tree, extending his hand and closing his eyes. Mana is the energy fueling magic. It's an essential part of spellcasting that shouldn't be replaced. Doma told Arad that the part about it being fuel is a half-lie and half-truth. The average spellcaster never uses mana as fuel. It's the reason weak spells don't consume it. Higher spells don't consume mana. In reality, it's the caster losing control over the mana that exited his body and letting it dissipate in the air. And this isn't a skill issue. It's a biological issue. A human brain can't suck the mana he sent out the same way a lung can't pull the same air it exhaled. Doma is optimistic that Arad could pull it off with his void brain and eyes that allow him to see magic. If he managed to muster it, then the higher his intelligence gets and the stronger his brain becomes, the less mana he will need to cast spells until it gets infinitely close to zero. I might not be able to give you an infinite amount of mana, but I can show you how to only need an abysmal amount of it. Doma smiled inside Arad. Arad stood staring forward and taking a deep breath. Firebolt, he conjured a spell, seeing the mana flow from his arms and spread in the air. It then returned to a single point, igniting a blaze, K-A-B-O-M. The spell flew forward, and Arad could see the mana returning to his arms. That was a zero-tier spell. You can naturally regain your mana after use, but let's try something bigger. Using an ice spike or a fireball should do the trick. Arad nodded. A fireball is just a bigger firebolt. Got it. Fireball mana acted the same as before with the firebolt, but the amount is higher. Kaboom! The moment the fireball flew away, Arad could his mana dissipating into the air like smoke amidst violent wind getting pulled away from him. The larger the mana released, the harder for you to retain it. Now I want you to focus on pulling it back. Cast the spell again and try. The moment Arad lifted his hand to recast the spell, Doma smiled. Lydia, blast him with a good smite. He needs to learn how to focus under pressure, and you're the only one here able to threaten his life. GIH, Arad froze. He will transform into a dragon. Lydia stared at Arad with a worried face. Don't worry, I'm weakening him to holy magic. One hit from you, and he's screaming harder than a little girl. Come on, you're a paladin, aren't you? Doma giggled. Your kind loves to blast devils and undead, don't they? Lydia sighed, her blade flashing with a brilliant light. Sorry, Arad, but this is going to hurt. Dodge well. Bam. Lydia jumped forward, swinging her sword at Arad's neck. Thud, swash. He jumped to the side and dodged her follow-up strike with a hair strand. Her holy light flashed in his face. To him it looked far more terrifying than the purple dragon claws. I need to cast a spell and reabsorb my mana to end this. He tried to focus. Creak. A sharp pain surged across Arad's body, forcing his body to stop moving. Swash. He could see a brilliant flash ahead of his face. Room, he lunged up, feeling as if his legs were crushed. Curse of decay. You only have 1 minute to make it happen before you fall. Do your best. You bitch, Arad growled, his vision blurring. You're damaging my body from the inside with your curse. I'm trying to push to the limits. Dragons grow the fastest when at the death door. Thud. Arad landed, seeing Lydia rush toward him, brandishing her sword. This is bad. Arad growled inside, have to dodge her attacks and ignore the pain, all while focusing on casting a high-level spell and reabsorbing my mana with a technique I only heard about yesterday. Something I had never seen done in person. Swash. Arad dodged Lydia's strike, his face relaxing. Bulge. As Arad looked forward with an emotionless face, 2 other pairs of eyes emerged on his face. One pair on his forehead of red eyes, and another of yellow eyes on his cheek. Purple scales covered his arms as 2 horns emerged from his head. Lydia gasped, feeling an oppressive surge of magic from Arad's body, and most of it was vampirism and lycanthropy mixed with a draconic aura. My brain spans from my head to the tip of my tailbone. The spinal brain will coordinate dodges, and my head will focus solely on casting the spell and reabsorbing the mana. Arad started drolling as Lydia swung her sword at him. With my void eyes, I can see mana surging inside her body. I know when a smite is coming. I can also see my own magic. I shouldn't let the two touch. She will ruin my spell. Crack. Arad's body twisted, leaping above Lydia's strike as his red eyes focused on her body. Blood is flowing toward her upper shoulders and thighs. She's about to swing up. Using his vampiric eyes, he could see attacks before they could even start. His body twisted mid-air, dodging her attack. His yellow eyes flashed. I can see her hormones and smell them. The next attack is a feint. Even if the blood told me she was going to swing, he didn't bother dodging, letting Lydia's sword hit him and get deflected off his scales. Bam. Lydia jumped back. What? She gasped, feeling like she is facing a wall. Something is off about you, this creepy feeling. Clang, clang, clang. Lydia jumped in, swinging her sword several times, but Arad deflected each attack and only dodged the smites. I knew it. You can read my moves. How do you even know when a smite is coming? Lydia growled, pointing her sword at the standing Arad. He stared at her without blinking, a droll dripping from his lips as a large fireball emerged above his head. Chapter 317. Curse of the Genius. 20 seconds have passed. Doma smiled, speaking from inside Arad's chest. Join in. Ella. Pew. 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 3 arrows flashed toward Arad's head, approaching his skull at a tremendous speed. Crack. Arad's back bent backward, whipping his head down away from the arrows. The spell above his head disappeared as his eyes glared at Ella. It isn't uncommon to face multiple people, and the goal is pushing you to the limit, and Lydia isn't enough. Doma laughed her lungs out as the arrows that missed Arad turned back and flew at him. Ayla's arrows will chase their target till they hit? Bam! Arad hit the ground with his left leg, spinning midair, avoiding the arrows. Crack! Lydia jumped behind him, swinging her sword at his head. Arad's red eyes and yellow eyes focused on Lydia while his void eyes chased the arrows. It was like tracking multiple dots on a single screen from him. Dodge. Arrow from below. Arrow from behind. The last arrows disappeared behind the trees. Lydia should swing her sword in the next second. It's a feint. The attacks come a moment after. It's a smite. I have to dodge and avoid the arrows at the same time. The pain from Doma's decay curse is getting worse. I shouldn't put my weight on my left knee since it hurts the most. I have to start conjuring the fireball again. I don't know how much time I have left. Is there a way to stop Doma from interfering? Will she call someone else? How much stamina do I have left? I'm thinking a lot. I need to calm. Weren't we talking about the void? In the blink of an eye, 100 thoughts raced across Arad's brain as time itself seemed to slow. I need to breathe. He's a genius. He's getting a hold over it rapidly. Doma growled, biting her nails. He's my son after all. Mom stared at her. Don't underestimate void dragons. Doma glared back at her. You understand nothing? No one does, she growled. Being a genius isn't a blessing or something to celebrate. It's a curse to be hated. You aren't making any sense, Mom sighed. Of course you won't understand the struggle of the genius. Doma stood glaring at Mom. You start off pretty well, happy-go-lucky. Your talent alone is enough to put you ahead of everyone else. She lifted her hands, grunting. You start relying on it. It never lets you down. She growled. But after just a few years, your peers who struggled and built up experience and skill start having an easier time, all while you struggled due to the lack of foundation. Mom glared back at Doma. Her rage wasn't coming out of nowhere. The people who called you a genius start calling you a failure, blaming you for it. White, it was them. The bastards who deceived and led you astray with honeyed words. Creak. Doma's eyes turned toward Mom. You aren't leading him astray. She started walking toward her, her hair crackling with magic. "If I found you hindering his growth, I will rip you apart from his soul." Mom felt her bond with Arad weaken. The magic bounding her to him was a type of curse, and Doma could easily break it. "Ha!" Doma sighed, turning around to look at Arad. "You were treated like that?" Mom stared at Doma kinda. "I wasted several years of my life and failed to meet people's expectations. Some of them died because of it." Doma looked back at him. It's true that he's a genius, but he needs to understand and muster his powers. With a finger flick, she conjured a chair and sat. His stomach, for example, that a convenient ability due to him being a void dragon. All void dragons have it by nature. There won't be a moment he lacks access to it, Mom replied. Doma sighed. "I should really cut your tail off." She flicked her finger and conjured an image. Dragon shackles, those are used to seal dragons' powers. She looked at Mom with a disappointed face. What if he was chained and all his weapons are stored in his stomach? He's dead. If they knew he's a vampire and were prepared, he is screwed. She deleted the image. What I'm saying is that he needs to learn some actual magic and skills that don't rely on his innate talents for backup. "You're right, but I already stated that to him," Mom growled. That it wasn't enough, Doma stared at her. "Let's take his void step and stomach, for example. Those two allow him to store and teleport, but are tied to his draconic powers. I suggest he start studying teleport magic and storage magic, and also keep some items that can achieve that effect on him at all times. Isn't that going a bit overboard?" "No, it isn't. Without efforts, he has no chance reaching S ranks, let alone world powers. Do you think the people standing on top got there with talent alone? They are the ones who dug their way with blood, sweat, and tears. Their talent and genius only make a small fragment of their power." Doma glared at Mom with a pink flare in her eyes. "We double, triple, and quadruple down on talent and effort. Until the moment we die, that is the curse of the genius." Mom stared at her, and then back at Arad, dodging Ayala and Lydia. "Do your best. Get stronger." Doma lifted her hand. "Time is almost up." "Izdis joined them," she said, and Izdis joined the fight. Thud. Doma sat down. "Well, I don't mean he shouldn't work on his void and natural talent. I'm only saying he shouldn't rely on them. I will start teaching him what I know about the void when he understands its fundamentals and gets some basic skills down." She looked at Mom. "Like how to use his brain and body. Can you explain to me why I'm teaching you, child, how to speak and walk?" "He can learn on his own," Mom replied, looking away. "No, they learn by mimicking their parents. You just aren't strict and harsh enough," Doma sighed. "You sigh a lot," Mom replied. "Don't get me started on how the first thing you thought, after him hatching, was sending him to get a woman." Doma pointed at Mom. "Why do I smell him on that elf? He should be 2 months old, isn't he?" She growled, scratching her head. "You should have got him to train and grind his stages and strength for at least a decade before going out for women." "It's important for the void dragons." "No, it isn't." Doma looked at Mom. "Your kind live for at least 10,000 years. A decade to you is like a week to humans." The two remained silent for a second. "We should stop this topic." Mom sighed. "You're right." Doma looked aside. "I shouldn't be fighting with my mother-in-law on the second day." "Sorry about the rant. Don't worry about it. You want the best for Arad. I can see it." The two sat beside each other, watching Arad run for his life from the girls. Chapter 318 defeated Thud. Izdis rushed forward, pulling the string of biwa and sending a shockwave that froze everything it touches. At that moment, Arad wasn't focusing on creating a fireball, and he could cast spells. Swash. His body burst into flames. Flame cloak, the ice melted as Arad immediately canceled the spell and started creating a fireball. Thud! Clank! Lydia and Izdis jumped to his sides, brandishing their swords. Holy smite! Freezing slash as the two blades approached Arad. He canceled the fireball and activated gravity magic null gravity. With a single push from his leg, his body floated upward while horizontally on his back. He's hard to hit, Lydia growled. Ayala, get him. Swash! 6 arrows emerged from the trees, the ones she fired before, and with an extra 3. They still flew with her wind magic. Arad looked at the arrows. Those things will chase me forever, unless I can do something about the cast. His eyes shifted to glare at the forest, instantly picking Ayala's location and sending shivers down her spine. Thud! Arad twisted his body, catching one of the arrows and throwing it at the forest. He knows where I'm hiding. Ayala gulped. I'm within the range of his vision. I have to move. She stood and started running silently between the trees. Nowef, Rosh, thud! An arrow blazed through the forest, landing in front of her with a thud. She stopped, looking at the fight. He knows, and more are coming, she cried, seeing the other 4 arrows she fired rushing at her. Halt! She extended her hand, trying to control them with her wind, but it was too late. The arrows flew faster than her magic could be applied. Pew! 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 2 arrows missed her, and the other 2 knocked her 2 quivers away into the forest. Ayla turned around, searching for the quivers. Arad smiled with this. She's out for a few seconds. Within the time frame Doma gave, this is enough to count Ayla out without actually hitting her. Lydia Izdis shouted, pulling her biwa string. Ding, ding, an ice mound emerged from the ground. Hit him hard! She started playing her biwa, enchanted moral. Lydia felt lighter, as if her still armor turned into a leather one, and she couldn't feel the weight of the sword in her hands. Thud, thud. She ran forward, using the mound as a jumping stone to reach Arad midair. It's over, vampire. She swung her sword at his neck. Time is up. Doma's voice came out of Arad's chest, and Lydia gasped. She has no way of stopping midair. Flap! Arad expanded his wings, catching her before she hits the ground. Are you all right? He asked with a smile. Yeah, Lydia sighed, dropping to the ground and leaning on the sword. That was exhausting. As Arad flew, his wings got pulled into his back and he plunged head first onto the ground, panting and sweating like a hog. That wasn't so bad, he gasped for air. You look like you're at death's door. Izdis stared at him skeptically. I'm not. I'm fine. Arad smiled. He isn't fine. He suffers from dizziness and a headache. Doma spoke. He never pushed his brain to the limit, but now he did. Can you not speak? Arad sighed, and he feels like throwing up. Bring him some water. Izdis shook her arms. See, she can speak for you. She turned toward her tent and brought a jug of water. Here you go, drink slowly. Arad sat up and took the jug from her. Thank you. Arad started drinking, staring at the sky. Don't worry about failure, you're learning, and it's natural to fail, Doma said from inside his chest, smiling inside. It's harder said than done. It's as if I don't have control over the mana that escaped my body, Arad sighed, putting the jug down. You have an infinite potential. Your body is naturally strong. All you need to do is learn and train. How strong exactly? I doubt it's much, as I'm still a very young one. Arad stood, taking the jug back to Izdis. And S-rank adventurers are powerful. I won't be able to reach their level anytime soon. Hey, Doma laughed. If I were to take over your body, I would win against most S-ranks, except the first-ranked. Stop joking. I'm not joking. The potential in your body now without any extra additions is already stupid. Just work hard and don't neglect any training. Arad walked back to his tent, seeing Ayala walk out of the bush with leaves all over her head. I finally found them. She carried her quivers. Ah, Ayala, you're back. Arad waved his hand to her, and she rushed toward him. How are you feeling? Ayala smiled, looking at Arad. Your clothes are dripping with sweat. Should I get you a change? Arad looked at his shirt. Please do, if you can. Ayala rushed toward the tent with a smile. You knocked my quivers away? I found them several meters away. Sorry about that. I wanted you out of the fight. Your arrows are really hard to deal with. Arad scratched his head, walking inside behind her and taking his shirt off. Outside, Lydia walked to the carriage and looked inside. We didn't hear from you for a while. Are you still alive? Eris growled, covering her face with the blanket. It's still noon, don't wake me up. Lydia stared at the half-asleep Eris and remembered Arad. You two don't act anything alike. Eris opened one eye. Don't compare me to someone who has Scarlet's blood. He doesn't have to sleep during the day and cannot be harmed by the sun. I can't even see him as a vampire. She rolled into the blanket. Lydia looked back at Arad's tent. He's different. There will be a day when he will concur holy magic just like the sun. Eris mumbled, You might regret letting him live, as such power shouldn't be wielded without supervision, especially in the hands of the cursed witch. Chapter 3:19. Blast a bear. Click. Jack cut a carrot with his knife, dropping the pieces into a boiling pot as he stared at Lydia standing beside the carriage. Lord Arad is powerful, isn't he? One of the elvish women said with a smile as she cut some meat, putting it in the pot after Jack. You saw him? Decide for yourself. Jack waved his hand, glaring back at the two elvish men. Where are the logs I asked for? Do you know much it will take to dry them? Samantha can dry wood quickly. Don't press us. One of the men growled back, swinging his wood axe at a tree, chopping some branches. He's right, Samantha the elf replied with a pained smile. Let them work at their own pace. Jack shook his head. No, can do. He glared at the two elvish men. Get it chopped now. I don't care how, get it done. No way, we can't, the two men cried. And Jack stood. You high and mighty elves, show me what can you do. Chop it down, don't complain, and work harder. The two me glared at each other, swinging their axes harder than last time. Don't be the only one doing work. I saw you earlier drying wood with your fire magic. If they don't finish a bit early, we're not eating lunch until evening. Boom! The trees shook as a pillar of flame and smoke rose to the sky with a dying screech. The elves gasped, jumping in their places. What was that? Jack stood, scratching his head. I caught something. You what? One of the elf men glared at him. Jack turned toward the elvish woman. Two, come with me. I might need your help skinning a monster. Or Jack walked in the front, and soon they saw a tree splashed with blood and guts, burn marks spreading vertically on the charred trunk. It's a big one. Jack looked back with a worried face. It seems to have survived the initial blast, but would die soon. He followed the blood train until he was stopped by a large corpse. A massive brown bear with massive claws lay dead on the ground, a gaping hole in his chest. What happened to him? One of the elvish women gasped, glaring at the corpses. This is a demon brown bear, a B-rank monster. The other one covered her mouth. The smell of blood and guts hurt her lungs. I have the whole area rigged with traps. He fell into one of mine. Jack smiled. He's a B-rank monster for a blasted monster. One of the elvish women walked away to puke. We can't handle flesh and blood well. It looks gross. You've been cutting meat for lunch all this time. I thought you two would be fine, Jack looked at her, puzzled. We're cooking for the people who saved us. The woman gasped. We can handle some meat for that, but this is too much. Jack nodded, standing up and looking at the bear. Well, I can do it on my own. He pulled a dagger and started skinning the bear. Just bring me a bucket of water and some bags to put the hide in. Then the two women rushed back to the carriage to bring the water, but they found none. Lady Ayla. Lady Ayla. One of them reached Ayla's tent, calling her. What is it? Arad walked out, glaring at the woman. Do you need something, master? Jack asked for some water, a bucket, so he can skin a brown bear that fell into his trap. She gasped, barely able to speak, seeing Arad tower over her. Bring me an empty bucket. You find them in the carriage, Arad replied, going back into his tent. The woman ran as fast as she could, bringing a bucket back. Master Arad, I brought the bucket. Arad walked out again, pointing at the bucket with his finger. A stream of cold water rushed from his fingertip, quickly filling the bucket. The woman gasped, seeing the crystal-clear water. Water magic? No, I have a clear well in my house. I filled storage magic with some of it. You can drink from that if you wish, he replied with a smile. The woman bowed down. Thank you. I will take this to Master Jack. She rushed back, making sure not to spill anything. Brown bears live in the Elvish territory. We've crossed the border, Doma said with a smile. Get ready for trouble. Why do you say that? Arad sat beside Alla, listening to Doma. Elves are weird. It would be a pain to adjust to them, even if they didn't intend to cause us trouble. We aren't that weird, Aella looked at Arad. Don't listen to that witch. Have you heard of the tree's servants, world treekins? Doma smiled. I think I have, but I'm not sure. Arad scratched his head. Something inside told him he heard about them before. They are identical women born from the world tree to serve it. Some call them the priestess of the world tree. It then clicked in Arad's head. I heard an elf named Vars speak of them. He worked with another adventurer called Gojo. Doma laughed. Since the elves are the weird people they are, they use those women as a reference for everything distance. They count with feet, which is how long is a priestess's foot. They also use hands, arms, and pounds. Wait, I can understand feet and arms, but what about pounds? Arad looked at Aella. She shook her hand. You don't want to know. It's how much force and weight it takes to penetrate a virgin priestess. Yeah, I don't know who's the smartass who measured it, but he sure was an elf. Arad sighed, scratching his head. I can't believe it. But to give them credits, the priestess is a constant reference as they are absolutely identical through the eons. You can be sure that a priestess's foot today is the same size as 1,000 years in the past and will remain the same 1,000 years in the future. Even so, I don't think it will be a problem. The Great Elvish Empire, we're coming. Chapter 320, Doma's Plan. Leaving the elves alone, they won't just attack us out of nowhere, would they? Arad stared at Aella. The Elvish kingdom is far more advanced than the human one. They might have already detected us walking through their borders with magic. Aella stared at Arad with a smile. We could consider their silence as an acceptance. Or buying time to strike us, you never know with the elves. Aella sighed. I hate it that you're right. She looked at Arad. We can't drop our guard down until we drop the elves into a city and leave the kingdom. Arad scratched his head. If the elves already know of us, can't we drop the elves here and leave? We don't know for sure, so they might end up eaten by monsters. Aella looked at the tent door and back at Arad. We should at least drop them off with local elves. Can't we split up? Arad lifted one finger. I can fly in, drop them into a village, and bolt out of there quickly. You can't do that. The elves would be suspicious and would probably kill them. We have to drop them in person. Then how about me using the void step to help us get out? Arad smiled. That would work, Alla nodded. If elves know something, it's how to mess up with long-range spells. You will end up teleporting into a tree or a wall. It's dangerous. Do you have a suggestion then? Arad growled, staring at his chest. I have several ideas, but none of them is certain to work. 70% at best. Doma smiled. Want to hear them? What kind of question is that? We're here trying to figure a solution, aren't we? Arad grunted. What I'm asking is if you want to rely on the wisdom of an ancient witch, or learn to figure things out on your own. The difference in experience is huge. Arad scratched his head. I do want to figure it out on my own, but I don't want to risk everyone's lives for it. Fine, I got your back. Can you lend me your body for a second? Doma giggled. What will you do? Arad looked down, puzzled. Set my plans in motion so no matter how badly you mess up, I can bail you out. But I can only guarantee your lives, nothing more. So don't blame me if you failed and Aella ended up losing a leg. I can't save that. Aella looked at Arad. So we could end up injured in the worst case? Not from my plans. I'm saying that what I can set will only save your lives, nothing more. You have to live with the responsibility of adventurers, isn't that right? Aella sighed. Adventuring is risking one's own life for the sake of exploration and glory. We can't remain in this line of work if we aren't ready to take some risks. Arad nodded. Fine, by me. Let's do it. Crack. Arad growled, curling into a ball and hitting his head on the ground. That's your first mistake. As a leader, you must discuss such things with the whole party and take their opinions. Call Jack Lydia and even Eris. You didn't have to pinch me that hard, Arad growled. Who has the best insight into planning for this party? It's Jack, Arad grunted. I know, I should have called him first. He stood taking a deep breath. Yizd, Wold, remember communication first. The whole party must walk by the same plan to avoid unexpected actions. As if one member made a mistake, they could get everyone else killed. Arad then heard someone call from outside the tent. Jack brought the bear meat to Arad to store it before lunch. Aela looked at it, disgusted. She can handle seeing beef or chicken, but this one is too gamey and smelly. Doma wanted us to have a party meeting discussing how to get into the elf's kingdom. Can you call Lydia and Eris? Arad looked at Jack with a smile. How about we leave it after lunch? You can't think straight with an empty belly, can you? Jack smiled. He would also give me time to process some things in my head. Arad nodded. Of course, I was thinking the same way. After lunch, the meeting started inside Arad's tent. So, why did you wake me up? Eris stared at Arad, yawning and rubbing her eyes. We need to plan forward. You're traveling with us, so Arad thinks you need to have a say in the matter. Aela growled at her, sneaking closer to Arad. It was me who said that, and are you crawling closer? Doma's voice came from Arad's chest, causing Aela to gasp for a second. I'm not. I doubt the elves would attack us. Lydia looked at Arad. I'm carrying a holy flag. That should stop you from attacking. Jack shook his head. You can't expect other people to respect it, especially the elves. I'm carrying the Earth's Mother flag. They would be fools to disrespect her flag, Lydia growled. Arad looked at them with a smile. There is something I wanted to discuss first. Doma says she can offer a fail-safe for us. We at least won't die. Jack looked at Arad. Explain further. After Doma explained, Jack nodded. I can understand that you will only protect us from death, but how will you do it? Arad, can I cast a spell? Do it. Arad's right hand moved on her own. The palm opened up, and the fingers pointed up. A white cube emerged out of nowhere. I call this the sealed box. It's the item I used in the past to strip the elvish queen and hand her in the middle of her capital. I'm sure she would call all the soldiers to the capital to protect her if she saw it again. Won't that expose you? Arad growled. They were sold in mass in the elvish black market. A lot of people wanted to use it after me, so the elves have been tracking the illegal transport of it. So you're saying more people have it now, so it isn't nearly you the one attacking. Chapter 321, The Final Plan, and the Weird Monk. That would be a distraction, and then I would use a precast teleportation spell to move us closer to the border where we can cross quickly, Doma said with a smile. How about you let me speak instead? Izdis grunted, sitting beside Lydia. I came here to speak with the elves in the first place. She stood. It's a diplomatic problem, isn't it? They could take you as a hostage. Remember the tension between you and us? Aela stared at her. You're hearing it from an elf. Humans' lives are far shorter, and our higher-up won't care about playing dirty. Humans won't live long to remember it, and even if they did in history, it could easily be forged as fake. Doma's voice came from Arad as Izdis sat down. I know, she sighed. With that decided, Doma would prepare for the worst-case scenario, and we will try to achieve our goal with as little conflict as possible. Anyone has any ideas? Arad asked. Jack scratched his chin. Well, I have an idea. He looked at the tent door. The elves traveling with us, they were kidnapped from villages close to the border. We can just guide them close enough and watch them go to one of those villages. Nubil a comb. Arad blinked. Are you saying we won't need to take them all the way into a village? Yeah, we only need to get them close enough. It's not like they are injured or can't walk. We're merely protecting them. Jack waved his hand. Didn't you hear me? I'm here on a diplomatic trip. We're going all the way to the Elvish capital and meeting the Queen, Isdis growled. That's definitely not going to fire back at us, not with a century-old witch with bad blood between her and the Elvish Queen. They would surely ignore that. Aella waved her hand, looking at Isdis. We can't get that close to them. Arad sighed, looking down. I guess not Elvish support. He remembered his conversation with Jack. Getting the elves' support and running for the throne. It all looked too good to be true. They won't be able to feel my presence unless they touch Arad directly, and the one who does it needs to know me well, Doma said. So unless the Queen touches Arad's skin directly, I can make sure they never knew I'm there. Everyone looked at each other. How much is the chance of Arad touching the Queen? She won't let a random adventurer close to her, right? Aella scratched her chin. Depends on how the Queen sees him. She looked at Arad. If the reverse of the worst scenario happened and the elves welcomed us like heroes, you might end up standing before the Queen as an honored hero. I don't want to deal with that, Arad sighed. Won't a ceremony like that take a lot of time? It usually takes 2 days. We can stay that long, can't we? She looked at Arad with a smile. Can't we just have Jack be the leader and attend? Arad scratched his head. I can't get close to the Queen, can I? But you're the leader. Isdis stared at him. You can forget it. I'm the leader, and I will deal with the Queen. Jack shook his head. I would prefer it if Arad is the one speaking with the Queen. He wanted Arad to get the elves' favor as the hero that saved their people. He can't let Isdis take credit only to keep Doma hidden, but then even if Doma gets exposed, we're stuck in trouble. He looked at Arad's face. We're between the hammer and the anvil. Arad looked at Aella. Is there any way to avoid the Queen's audience? Aella thought about it for a few seconds. The only thing I can think of is if the Queen sees you as an equal, or at least a power to be reckoned with. Can you listen to me for a second? Isdis stared at Jack. I'm the princess of the human kingdom. I can speak with the Queen while putting Arad as the powerful hero that saved the elves. Hey! Eris sighed, staring at them. It's like I'm listening to a bunch of kids thinking this through. She stared at Arad. Right? Doma said with an excited face. Do you have a better plan? Of course, Eris waved her hand as her eyes glowed red. We walk in and meet the Queen as expected. Eris approached Arad. If she asked you to kiss her hand for a reward, just say that problematic for you. She will understand. Arad looked at Eris confused. What will she understand? A hero usually doesn't pick a side. If your calling in life is saving and helping people, you won't care if it's an elf, a human, or anything else. Eris approached Arad. A hero saves people equally. Having you like that will make it easier for the elves to use you as a mediator between them and the humans. She smiled. You will get their support without actually needing to serve them directly. Do you think it would work? Aella stared at her. If the humans are already helping Arad without tying him down, the elves would lose face in front of other kingdoms if they tried to control him, Eris explained with a grin. Be a good asset to everyone, and you will get all of their support. You're right. With that, the kingdom that first make a move to control Arad would look like bad guying trying to harm peace, and they could get shunned. Doma laughed. As expected from a long-living vampire. How old are you? Don't ask a woman about her age, Eris sighed. But I've seen enough to know, Jack nodded. She's right. Arad was already walking down the path of a dragon mediator, a neutral power that everyone should respect. But I will see if there are any thieves contact here to help us out. Please do. Arad nodded. So the plan is like this. Deliver the elves to the capital. Meet the Queen. Get her support. Don't touch her. Leave without a fight. Arad sighed. Let's hope everything will go according to plan. On the other side, an elf sat inside a tent with 2 soldiers facing him. Where are they? Sir. One of the soldiers stood firm like a log. They have entered the bleak wood forest. Monsters strangely avoided them, so there is a possibility they hold a powerful monster or an item. We've spotted half of the missing elves alongside them with a woman suspected to be the 4th princess of the Alcyria kingdom. We suspect they are here on peaceful business. The commander rested his chin on his hands. Should we risk it? He sighed. Our sensors are screaming blood magic. There are at least 2, maybe 3 vampires in there. Add to that the extra lycanthropic and vague curse magic around them, and the giant cobra sneaking behind. I doubt they are here for good reasons. Sir, do you think they intend to attack us? One of the soldiers gasped. Even if we aren't on good terms with the humans, we know they never steep too low to work with friends. My guts is that princess is double to lure us out. The commander looked at the soldiers. We shouldn't fall for it. There are villages full of civilians behind us, and they won't be able to fight such fiends. What if she's the real princess? One of the soldiers looked at the commander with a pale face. We still trust the humans. She must be captured and forced to work with them. Our priority should be to save her and our people. The commander stood. Kill everyone besides the princess double and our people as you order. The 2 soldiers saluted him. The commander smiled. By orders of Her Majesty, the 7th Queen, and under the guidance of the 1st Queen Sylphways, we shall return evil with goodness and save the human princess for them. He walked out of the tent, brandishing his sword and pointing it at the sky. By the Queen's name and for the future peace, give up your hearts, he shouted, and the rumbling of 10,000 elvish soldiers shook the ground as they stomped and shouted, "Ding, ding." A ringing sound killed their voices. Sitting aside beneath a tree, a single monk with short black hair sat beneath a tree. The commander paled. "Herald, you're here?" That man, the monk, rang his bell, and Arad's image appeared in the air. Do I get to suck on the Queen's toes if I brought his head? The commander sighed. No, you weirdo. We've been telling you no for decades. Get over it. She will never look at you no matter what. The monk looked straight, tearing from his closed eyes. How saddening, how discouraging, how unfortunate. He stood. The spirits of the tree are crying for, I don't get anything. He started praying. But I shall remain strong. The monk smiled. One day my wish will be granted, and his head I shall bring. Chapter 322, Something is Off. Arad walked in front of the carriage across the dirt road, looking around at the trees. He could feel that magic was stronger here, probably since elves use it more than humans. He stopped, staring forward. Ding, ding. A monk was approaching them on the road. He wore a red and golden robe, ringing a silver bell as 2 women stood by his side. One was a dryad with wooden skin, and Arad could barely look at the second one's face. Ding, ding. He could feel heat rushing toward his face from his neck, and he could hear the carriage stopping behind him. You're far more beautiful than I expected, the second woman said, her face shaking like hazy mist. B.A. dump, B.A. dump. Arad's heartbeat accelerated and he could feel a stinging pain in his chest. Boom, in the blink of an eye. He lunged forward, swinging a kick at the woman's face. Clang. The monk stopped the attack with his bell. She saved you, the monk said with a smile, his eyes closed. Rare are the people who could resist the allure of a nymph, let alone react after seeing her. Drip, blood dripped from Arad's back. An arrow rested just on his shoulder. Arad looked back, seeing Aella staring down with saliva dripping from her lips, her bow resting by her side. Aella, he growled, and noticed that everyone else was the same, enthralled by the beauty of nymph. She noticed my friend and acted before she could be fully affected by the charm. A strong-willed woman, where did you find someone like her? The monk looked at the angry Arad. Hey, the dryad by his side whispered. Grant, she's a Diayenera, a volatile pact with the wind spirits protects her, albeit not enough to fully negate the effect. Grant looked at the dryad. I see you can tell. The hell are you talking about? You're the one commanding the spirits. Look for yourself. She growled. Grant smiled. Even if I command the spirits, I don't control their actions. I have no power over the wind spirit if she chose to support someone else. He pointed at Arad. You 2 are here fighting by my side of your own will. This is a spirit pact. Crack! Arad rushed forward, swinging his fist with zeal. Clang! Grant stopped the punch with his bell. "You're attacking out of nowhere, aren't you? Why is your friend here charming everyone?" Arad looked at Grant in the eyes. "Please do forgive her. Nymphs are the natural-born spirits of beauty." Grant looked at the nymph beside him. Her face and body are of an otherworldly beauty that only I can comprehend her. Arad moved his fist away. A power she can't control? No, she can control it. It's just that it can run rampage from time to time. Grant shook his head. "Arethusa, here is my companion, the spirit of beauty." He then turned toward the Dryad, and she's Atlantea, the spirit of the great forest, Arad. Don't fight the spirits. They are rules of nature, and beating them is almost impossible with normal means. Mom is right to kill the nymph. You must find the natural spot of beauty she was born from and destroy it. That place could be on the other side of the world for all we know, and to kill the spirit of the forest, you must find which forest she's linked with and burn it down. So those aren't their real bodies, Arad thought. How about the weird monk? I don't know anything about him. We better avoid any fight. Don't fight him. That's the second-ranked adventurer, Grant, the World Tree Herald and Spirit King. He's mostly a fake pacifist that rarely fights directly, but controls spirits to fight for him. You have no chance to beat him now. Arad sighed. So it's a misunderstanding. Sorry for the sudden attack. He looked at Grant. Do you mind releasing them in the back? We still have a long way to go. Releasing them? Grant scratched his head. I wasn't the one who charmed them. He smiled. But what do you seek? Arad pointed back with his thumb. We saved the elves that were captured by the goblins and were guarding them to the capital. Really? I thought you were trying to attack the kingdom for a second. Grant laughed, smiling. It's rare to see a vampire walking in the daylight. Do you by any chance have Scarlet's blood? He glared at Arad, his eyes glowing with a deep green light. Arad stopped, staring back. You know a lot. I lived for over 3 centuries and faced many dangers. Of course, I would hear of the vampire Lord Scarlet. Glad we two won't need to kill each other. I will take the elves from your hand and deliver them to the queen. Arad scratched his head as the nymph released everyone from her charm. Sorry, but we need to be the ones delivering them to the queen. It's a diplomatic matter between the humans and elves. But I won't be able to suck on her toes then. Grant stared at Arad with a sad face. What will you do about that? Excuse me, what? Arad gasped, confused at what he just heard. Suck on what? It's what you heard, Grant nodded with a serious face. What? Why I can't let you take them to her. I will be the one sucking on them, and not you. Listen, do what you like. I only need to deliver the elves to the capital. Let the princess in the back meet the queen and then leave. What does this have to do with what you want? Arad tried to wrap his head around the nonsense the monk was spitting. Something is off. Grant smiled, lifting his hands. Due to that, I can't allow you to take the elves to the capital. Arad, he's a pacifist and won't attack first. He wants you make the first move. His nart, low whirl mosh. She's right, monks usually walk by vows, and he should have the vow of peace. Something is off. Chapter 333, Pulling the Strings. Grant stared at Arad. Something is off. He, as well, could feel that something wasn't adding up with Arad. A vampire-dragon-werewolf hybrid traveling with a Deianira. It's all as I learned from observing those naked apes. Grant stared at Arad, opening his eyes. How was your trip so far? I lost track of them right after they crossed the border. What could have happened? He started walking to the side. You look exhausted. Arad stared at the monk, suspicious. Something is off about this elf. Something inside me is telling me he should die right here and now. I know. It's that smile and confidence standing before me. That's so alerting, Grant smiled. Come on, you can finally rest. I'm here to take the elves back to the capital. You can go home and rest. He opened his arms. I don't. To fight him with this feeling, I must give up on taking his head. Arad sighed. It's better to avoid clashing with someone like him. Fine, you can take them. Won't mind going home a bit early. He turned toward the carriage and approached Aela. "We're going back home," he smiled. "You, Mo. I'm to deliver all the elves back to the capital, her included." Grant smiled. "She isn't going back with you, huh?" Arad turned around, glaring at the monk with glowing purple eyes and veins bulging on his forehead. "Say that again." "Don't worry. I will only escort her to the capital where she can be identified and returned to her family." Grant smiled. "I can see a slave seal on her. That's not something we elves don't like to see on our people." "That's none of your business," Aela growled. "It's of my business. I know you're speaking against your will. That won't deter me to free you." The monk shifted his attention toward Aela. "Starting a war can come later. That's something for Vars to think about. I only need to gather the spirits around me, and her wind isn't something I can miss." Thud. Arad started walking toward the monk. "Don't attack him. He can't attack first. Doma is right. Ignore his taunts. We don't know what he really wants." Arad looked at the monk's face. "Something is off. I never had such a feeling coming from a man before. He must die." Grant stopped smiling, lifting his hand and looking around. "There is nothing I can do besides asking you to hand them over. Otherwise, I would have to kill you." "Something is off," he grunted inside. "It's like I'm staring at a loaded bomb." He looked at his side. "Arethusa and Atlantea are strong enough to kill him even without me fighting. But should I call Aaron the Purple Dragon?" "No, he's too injured to help. Atlantea, come here for a second." He looked at the Dryad, gripping her wrist. Forest sense. Grant blinked. See. This must be the reason for my strange feeling we're being watched. He could see a red Dracaena sitting beside the mountains to the east, watching them from afar. The one who escaped Aran, he then looked to the other side, and she's the second problem. He smiled, seeing a large green dragon prowling the forest. Ancient, but I should be able to handle her with ease. Move out of the way. "You aren't taking anyone with you," Arad growled, cracking his fists. Grant could still feel that something was off. The two dragons aren't the only unwanted observers. A third feeling is coming from the sky, and the last one is from his body. A powerful monster is lurking within his body. Did you make a pact with a devil or something? Grant smiled. "I can't let anyone leave, then. You all must die here." Ding! He rang his bell with a smile. "You two kill them." Opened one eye, crack. The ground cracked beneath Arad's feet as he got ready to charge. The nymph's mental attacks rely on the target seeing her, and the Dryad isn't weak to fire magic. Her body is full of fluid. Hit her with ice and lightning instead. "Got it, Thud!" Arad lunged at the nymph first, clenching his fist and swinging at her face. "You're slow?" She smiled, opening her palm. "Slap? Slap?" She slapped him in the face twice. Arad didn't care, charging at her with a hug. The moment he grabbed her between his arms, void step, the scenery changed around the nymph, seeing herself with Arad in the middle of the sky, between mountains and above a large river. Teleportation. "Get me back, you monster," she growled, but Arad smiled as she thrashed on his face. "See you later." He dropped her in the river and teleported back. Zon. When Arad reappeared, he could see the carriage had already been flipped upside down. Jack is nowhere to be found. Crack. Massive tree roots rose from the ground, flying around. Thud. Ayla ran across the roots, aiming her bow at the center of the trees. "She's in the middle," she shouted. Crack. "I know," Lydia growled, swinging her sword on the ground and cutting the roots. "I can't get to her. Swords aren't designed to cut wood." Ding, ding. Izdis pulled the strings of her biwa, sending waves of magic toward Lydia. "I will support you. Swing as hard as you can." "I can't see Jack. He's probably sneaking toward the Dryad or the monk." Bam. Arad expanded his wings and blasted toward the Dryad, clenching his right fist with lightning and his left one with ice. "If I killed her, we can ignore the monk and leave." Creak. The Dryad turned around, seeing Arad flying toward her at an incredible speed. "What happened to Arethusa?" "Who knows?" Arad grunted, swinging his fist. Thud, the monk rushed ahead of him, smiling as he stood between Arad and the Dryad. "Hit me! Don't touch him! Gish!" Arad flapped his right wing, switching his direction, and crashed on the ground. "You bastard," the monk smiled. "You will hit me, and that's the moment you lose." Thud! Kaboom! Jack stood behind the Dryad, pointing his arm cannon at her head, and blasted. As the monk turned around, surprised, the Dryad fell to the ground. Jack sighed, pulling a bottle from his pocket and pouring the content on the Dryad body. Burning oil, time to make firewood. He threw a match at her, setting her ablaze. "It's your loss, monk." Arad smiled. "Something is off," the monk giggled, opening his arms. "Let's fight." And the forest started crying. Chapter 324, Raging Forest. The monk stretched his arms, smiling as a skeletal tree root emerged from the ground, sucking his body in. "Suck me in," he gasped with a smile on his face. Arad jumped away, seeing the forest raging with the trees standing up. "Damn it!" Arad cried, jumping back and grabbing everyone. "We need to get away." In the blink of an eye, he teleported them to the top of a frozen mountain peak with no trees around. Everyone looked down, seeing Titan roots emerging from the ground as the monk flew with leaf wings in the middle of it, encased in an armor of wood. "Monster!" Arad growled, flying toward the forest and leaving everyone behind. "Arad!" Ayala shouted, but he didn't listen. Arad flapped his wings harder than before, accelerating faster than he did before in his life. His eyes only see one thing, the monk flying in the middle of the air. No holding back. I must go all out. Arad smiled, pulling the stone greatsword he took from Doma's father. He looked across the massive forest with a grin, seeing the roots standing as tall as mountains and as thick as large monsters. "You can attack anything in the entire forest." He stared at the monk from a distance. "But sadly, it isn't as wide as my melee range, is it?" An evil grin crossed Arad's face as he stared forward, lifting the massive greatsword and swinging down clap. A massive tree root exploded on the other side of the forest as Arad stood above it. Surprised? Zon, Arad appeared right behind the monk, swinging his sword down. "You're dead." Click! The monk's wood armor disappeared as he stretched his arms with a smile. "Hit me!" Arad stopped his swing at the last second, teleporting again and hitting another massive root. "Don't tell, he still isn't fighting?" Arad gasped, clenching his teeth. "This is the power of the forest spirit, not his." Mom replied with a worried voice. "Try using the breath that erased the elder fungus. I will need time to tune my void to it. Give me another suggestion." "Won't, Ayala, and the other be able to buy you time?" "No way. They would get squashed in a single hit, and Iris can't fight in the sunlight." Arad growled, pulling air into his lungs and filling them with flames. Roar. He unleashed a large fire blast at the ground, igniting the forest in the hope to damage the forest spirit. Crackle. The roots pierced the ground, flipping dirt all over the forest fire, putting it out in the blink of an eye. "Don't even bother," the monk laughed. "You burn one and 10 grow up." He pointed at Arad. "No matter what you do, you will lose this battle." Arad jumped away, seeing hundreds of tree roots approaching him. "He's getting faster." Arad teleported between two attacks and got smacked by the third one, digging a trench on the forest ground before coming to a halt. "You must have broken some bones." The monk smiled. "Care to give up?" Bam! Arad lunged from the ground, swinging his void-engulfed sword at the monk. Something is off. The monk couldn't understand what will Arad's void effect be, so he didn't want to risk it. Clap! He smacked Arad away with a tree root staring at him. "How about now?" "Dead yet, bam!" The moment Arad hit the ground, he bounced right back like a rubber ball, swinging again at the monk. Clap! The monk smacked Arad twice, hitting him on the ground hard enough to dig a hole. Bam! Unscathed, Arad bounced again, smiling as he swung the sword. "The hell," the monk gasped. Most people and monsters would have died with such heavy hits. How was his body still intact? "Ha ha ha ha!" Arad laughed his lungs out. "Come on, monk. I'm about to figure it out. Don't stop just yet." The laugh sent shivers down the monk's spine, causing him to flinch for a second. This thing, my attacks don't seem to harm him, even though I'm sure I squashed him several times. Regeneration, but that should have a limit. What is he thinking about? Doma was saying to focus on absorbing mana. What if I focused on refining my void instead, getting it ready to only delete the forest spirit? Arad couldn't help but smile. Each hit he takes breaks his concentration, but after healing he charges again, unfazed. Clap. The monk clapped his hands, staring forward with a worried face. You're looking more like a problem the longer this fight keeps going. A green light emerged from the ground, flashing up toward Arad. Forest, bloom blue. Arad coughed blood as flowers started growing from his mouth and nose. You breathed the spores released by the forest spirit. Now they grow inside your lungs and eat you from the inside out. The monk smiled. Only Gray survived this without giving up. It's over for you, Arad smiled, flame and void gushing from his nose and mouth. Your spores walked into hell itself. Good luck. Arad giggled, lunging back at the monk, focusing on his void in the back. The armies of the elves didn't dare to tread into the forest for fear of getting squashed. Is that man really fighting the herald? The general gasped, unable to believe his eyes. The S-rank, capable of crushing armies with his extreme magic, is being held back by a single young man. Noonvimel. Retreat, retreat! We have no chance of winning if the herald can't make it, he shouted at the top of his lungs. I have to report this to the queen. We must not make an enemy of that young man if he survived, Arad. Arad kept getting smacked left and right, but he lunged back like a madman, swinging the stone greatsword at the monk without rest. The monk finally got exhausted and decided to take a blow from Arad's sword. I don't know what effect that void magic would have or why I'm getting this weird feeling, but I doubt I can keep this out. He lunged forward, conjuring a wooden sword in his hand. Dragon child, I will cut you apart, and that Deianira girl with me. I bet her wind spirit still didn't make a contract. He swung the sword at Arad's neck. No thanks. Aella fell from the sky, landing on Arad's shoulder and pointing her bow at the monk's head, but she had no arrow loaded, damn it. The monk growled. Tempest, wind compressed inside Aella's bow, forming an arrow. The monk tried to fly away, glaring at her with a worried face. Boom, the wind arrow flew from Aella's bow, hitting him square in the forehead, cracking his armor, and sending him flying to the ground. His peace vow only triggers when he gets attacked directly, and attacks from spirits don't count, Aella said, sitting on Arad's shoulders. Who told you? Arad stared at her. The wind spirit, a memento from Mother. I will tell you about her later. For now, let me take a seat. She wrapped her legs around his neck, looking down at the monk. I have limited mana. I can't waste it on flying. She looked at Arad. Can you get me close to him? Arad smiled. Of course. He flapped his wings, flying at an incredible speed. Should I take my dragon form? No, we're a smaller target like this, Aella replied, pulling the bowstring and aiming at the monk with a smile. We only need to injure him badly and run away. We can win. I managed to focus long enough to adapt my void to erase the forest spirit, Arad replied. You attack and guide me around. Arad closed his eyes, flying as fast as he could while letting Aella lead him like a horse. This was the only way for him to get enough time to focus. Bam! The monk flew from the ground, flinging a massive wooden spear at Aella. Wind spirit, care to have a contract with me. He shouted, I promise to treat you well. Aella fired an arrow, deflecting the massive spear and flying past the monk, barely able to control Arad's direction with her legs. Doma, do something, Mom growled, staring at Doma sitting beside her. Doma put her finger on her lips, staring at Mom and signaling for her to remain silent. Let him focus, she smiled. Blug. Arad opened his eyes to a tree branch running through his chest. He coughed blood, smiling as the monk landed in front of him, lifting Aella by the neck. She has fallen, and so is you. The monk smiled. You can die. Arad laughed. Thanks to you. I finally figured it out. Or at least a part of the truth. Arad lifted his hand. I was thinking too hard about it. The void is nothing, and that's what I need to not hit you directly. Arad put his hand on the root, erasing it with the monk's armor. The monk gasped, releasing Aela as Arad grabbed him by the ankle. He smiled. You touched me. It's over for. His vow didn't activate. And he noticed that Arad's skin wasn't touching him, even as he grabbed him. Crack! Arad flailed the monk around, smacking him on the ground. Chapter 325, Void Monster. Thwack! Arad punched the monk in the face, sending him rolling on the ground, digging a trench. Crack! As the monk looked forward, struggling to stop, he saw Arad leaping toward him with a passive face and purple glowing eyes. You, Garnt growled, staring back at Arad. Thwack! Arad kicked forward, hitting Grant's face and sending him back a second time with a shockwave. He's hitting me, but my vow isn't activating. How is he doing it? Grant thought, blood dripping from his nose as he crashed into the trees. It doesn't matter. I should be able to kill by only using one spirit at a time. No need for more than one. Thud. Grant flipped back, landing on a large boulder. Spirit of Stones, Zakar. He touched the boulder, smiling as his body got engulfed. Ben-Nuv. Crack. Arad landed a fair distance ahead of him. You had another spirit hiding underground? Not exactly hiding. I called her when you took Arethusa away. Grant smiled. So you call yourself a Wyrm, so let's see if you can hold the wrath of the ground which you walk upon. He shouted, lifting his fist up, and the ground exploded. The whole forest ripped from its roots and flipped upside down, swash. Arad teleported into the sky and flapped his wings, flying as fast as he could. Shards of stones ripped across the sky, as red as meteors. Arad tried to get closer to Grant to punch him again. I can't use magic or the void while my barrier is out. Do you two have any idea? Arad growled inside. Find a way to retreat. We don't need to win this fight. You're only using about a quarter of your brain, so you should be able to pull more. Doma looked at Arad's mind, but that would be like asking a random person to do a triple backflip. It's a miracle if they managed one. Arad understood what Doma meant. Even now he's barely able to grasp the edge of his void. Zon. Arad teleported toward Grant, swinging his fist as that is his only way of dealing damage now. Swash! Grant dodged the strike and swung a punch at Arad using the stone spirit armor. Bam! The punch hit Arad in the stomach, unable to reach his skin, but the force still blew him back. Grant smiled. You can prevent direct hits, but not the force and momentum behind them. He lunged forward, then, all I need to do, you crush you between two boulders, and that would be all you're worth. Bam! Arad bounced off the ground, rushing at Grant with a clenched fist. Crack! Stone spikes rushed from the ground, racing to impale Arad in his tracks. Thud! Thud! He jumped between them only to be faced with two massive slabs. Be crushed! Grant shouted, but Arad slipped out before the slabs could close. Bam! Arad delivered a punch directly toward the monk's torso, smacking him on the ground. Grant smiled. You know, kid, he laughed, I noticed something interesting. You're stepping on the ground, aren't you? Arad looked down, sweating. Grant lifted one finger. Death by 1,000 stabs. The ground crackled, crumbling into gravel. Gravel storm with Grant's scream. The ground exploded, blasting Arad with all the gravel. Clack. Clack. A large portion of the gravel got deflected by Arad's barrier, but some managed to push through with the sheer numbers. You can only sustain the barrier consciously. Having to deal with multiple attacks must be hard, isn't it? Grant shouted as Arad's body started getting torn by the gravel. Bam! Arad's body flew back, bleeding. Thud. Grant landed on his way, smiling as he removed the armor. Come to me. He opened his arms. Crack! Arad's rolling body hit Grant's torso, throwing him to the ground. You hit me, didn't you? It dealt damage as well as small as it may be. Grant laughed as tiny orbs of light gathered around his body. 7 shadows emerged behind his back. As he laughed, 2 butterfly-like wings spreading from his back as he floated, his skin shifting into a pure white shade akin to milk. I'm the Spirit King, the one who dominates all the spirits of nature. Spirit of earth, spirit of fire, spirit of lighting, spirit of beauty, spirit of forest, spirit of life, spirit of water. Grant lifted his hand, causing Arad's body to start floating. "It's over for you, worm kid." Crack, with a single palm swing, he pierced Arad's chest. "When I get hit, I can use all my spirits at once, and on top, my personal physical power combines to match them." He threw Arad on the ground and turned to walk away. "I don't even need your head. I will take the Wind Spirit Girl and leave as a sign of respect to someone who pushed me this far." He started floating away. Bud-dump, 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 bud-dump. He growled, seeing Arad standing. "What a rowdy age. Kids like you dancing with fairies. You should have gone for the sole avatar of the World Tree." Arad smiled, black tattoos covering his skin as his wounds healed. "Herald of the World Tree, I'm not as mighty as to be called an avatar," Grant growled. "I'm surprised you're still standing. Let me tell you something, kid. Don't go around boasting such a title like it's yours, fake herald." Grant growled, veins bulging on his head. "Your attitude changed, worm." He extended his hand, creating 7 pillars of molten stone by mixing the powers from the earth and fire spirit. Crackle. Lightning started flashing between the pillars as Grant smiled. "Let me erase your whole body." Boom! The 7 pillars flew at Arad at a blinding speed, ripping the ground to shreds as they landed. Dead in one hit. Not amounting to much, Grant started flying toward Aella. Was this supposed to do anything? Arad stood, waving his hand to remove the dust from his shoulders. "How about you use something sharper?" Grant blinked twice. With how much magic and elements I mixed into the attack, I should have been twice as hard to block as the gravel storm. How is he still standing? Did his barrier grow stronger? Arad smiled, lifting one finger. Void exists within the tiny particles forming our universe itself. With enough mastery over magic and some experience, I can cause that void to collapse, destroying the particles. A brilliant blue light flashed from the tip of Arad's finger, blinding Grant on the spot. The result is a massive surge of energy that can be easily directed by controlling which particles I collapse first. Zip! A blue beam of light exploded forth, evaporating the ground as it hit Grant, disintegrating his body. Even the ashes were erased. Crackle. A tree root emerged from the dirt to the side, forming a humanoid body as the dust settled from Arad's attack. The body quickly turned into Grant, and he fell to his knees, gasping for air. Thanks, Atlantea. Gerozo, I wouldn't have survived without you two. Grant stared at Arad after thanking the spirit of the forest and the spirit of life. Who are you? Me? Sorry, I only answer questions from a single man and a few girls. Okay, probably Jack also counts. He's helping us after all. Arad scratched his head and then looked at Grant with a passive face. Doesn't matter anyway. Grant swung his hand, sending a massive lightning bolt toward Arad. Arad extended his arm. You can teleport up to 400 meters with a void step. That means you can control the void up 400 meters, otherwise you won't be able to teleport without setting a waypoint beforehand. Arad smiled. What I'm saying is that as long as it exists in that range, you should be able to control the void inside, including this fraud of a herald. She got her palms closer and rubber them. Crack. Grant's body twisted, shrinking into a tiny ball. See, it's the same when water mages draw moisture from their targets, causing them to shrivel. You just draw the void out, causing them to crumble. Arad laughed as Grant got a new body. I spent over 100 years studying void magic after I saw you. I'm trying to condense all of that knowledge in an easy-to-learn format, so open your mind and memorize every feeling your body goes through. Grant barely stood glaring at Arad. You monster, what is this magic? Clap! Arad clapped, putting his palms together with a smile. Condense your void in a single spot, creating a vacuum that pulls things toward it. Now mix it with a bit of gravity magic, creating a small sphere of destruction. A tiny black orb emerged ahead of Arad, ripping the ground to shreds and sucking it directly into his stomach. Sphere of Annihilation, Chapter 326, Void Lair, Sphere of Annihilation. The tiny ball of pure darkness rumbled, sucking the air around it alongside the ground as Arad smiled. This will be your end, elf. Zahn, the tattoos on Arad's body started fading. He stared forward with a passive face. You can't control it, but try if you want, he mumbled, his head looking down. The moment Arad retook control of his void, the sphere started shaking, sending shockwaves across the forest, and soon exploded, blasting the monk away. Gas, Arad gasped, coughing as blood dripped from his eyes and ears. See? Told you. Arad giggled, smiling. I wasn't intending to control your magic. He lifted his hands up. I give up. It's too delicate for me. This isn't my style. What? Clap. Arad clapped his palms, staring forward with a crazed gaze. The void pull I used before, infinite void, and now this spell Doma made. Arad's body started rumbling as the monk barely stood, staring at him. I can't pass a thread across a needle. I'm not as skilled as Doma. But I can push it across a door. A dark mist started rising from Arad's shoulders as his eyes flickered. Don't worry about power or look, just make it big and easy to control. I only need a rough shape. Release it the moment Doma finishes, sucking the mana back. Boom. Arad's purple eyes turned black as the void started rushing out of them. Void Lair, a pure wave of darkness, rushed out of Arad as his stomach flipped inside out, expanding a massive sphere of void from his body. The monk's vision went dark as he got sucked in, and the sphere kept expanding, consuming the forest to grow, grinding it for sustenance. Gah! The monk opened his eyes inside the endless void, feeling his skin ripping off as blood boiled through his flesh. What's happening? I can't see, feel, hear, or move, he gasped, spirit veins. The monk's magic didn't activate, and he sensed the other problem, ravaging his body. Mana rapidly got sucked out of him, and his spirits were nowhere to be found. Outside the sphere, the spirits screamed as they punched Arad's lair. Let us in! Let us in! They shouted their lungs out. The inside of the lair was Arad's stomach, and he has full control over what can get in and what can't. This spell merely allows him to flip it inside out and suck everything, including living beings. Whether they can survive the harsh void or not, that is their problem, not his. The monk growled in pain, gathering what little mana was left inside his body and protecting it with a barrier. This monster. He's digesting me alive. Kleck, 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 click, 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 click. Translation: the monk couldn't understand a word of it. You have no power here. Your flesh and magic is being digested. It doesn't matter how much physical power you had without a footing, your muscles mean nothing. It's ugly and grotesque, but this is my true lair. We voids store our hoards inside our stomachs for a reason, and that is what I just figured out. The monk's head started hurting as he heard a continuous clicking inside his head. I can hear something. No, it's projected directly into my head. The new Rigbam, the monk, got punched in the face, his nose cracking, and before he could cry, his nipples exploded as something stabbed his back. Click, 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 click. I have instant access to all my treasury weapons and items alike, and I can attack from wherever I want. As the monk's body started turning into mush, skin first, Arad giggled. Click, 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 click. And since it's inside my stomach, I can let the consciousness inside my head run amok. Welcome to hell, monk, Doma giggled, standing beside the monk as Mom growled above him. Should we kill him? That's for Arad to decide. Killing an S rank will put you on bad terms with the other S ranks and the spirits as a whole. Doma smiled, staring at Arad, who floated above them. Click, 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 click. I can't let him live after seeing this, can I? I can solve that problem for you, Doma smiled. The elvish army stared in terror as a massive black sphere devoured their kingdom's S rank, separating him from the spirits and granting him power. Crack. The sphere cracked, shattering in the blink of an eye like glass. Bam! Arad emerged, smiling as his foot stomped the monk's face to the ground, quacking the ground. This should have rattled his brain enough. Arad smiled, glaring down at the monk. It will do. Doma smiled Grant. The spirits rushed in, trying to fuse back with Grant, but they failed. He was already out, lacking any trace of magic in his body. What did you do to him? One of them cried. I don't know, Arad replied with a passive face. He didn't know what Doma did. I scrambled his mind like an egg. For someone as strong as him, a month of rehabilitation will get him functional enough as a living being. A mouth appeared on Arad's hand. Who is that? Wait, the cursed witch. One of them recognized Doma's magic and backed away. What are you doing here? Did you cast that horrid spell? That was my husband's magic, Doma laughed. You lots better take him and scram unless you want to be eaten alive. They do look edible. Arad glared at them, his eyes glowing. The spirits carried Grant and flew away as Arad sighed. I would like to take their powers, can't I? I can't break the pack without their direct consent and without access to their origin. We can only kill them, and that's a waste. Doma replied, sinking back into Arad's body. Arad took a deep breath. It's over, he smiled. I managed to keep him away from Aela. His head started spinning, and he fell face first on the ground, leaving a crater of destruction. Arad opened his eyes, feeling his head throbbing. He could see a marble ceiling above his head with a chandelier lit with orbs of magic. Gah! He heard a voice gasp beside him, and he turned to see a maid sitting on a fancy chair beside his bed. She rapidly stood, rushing toward the door. Guards, he woke up! What? Arad could hear a man scream right outside the wooden door. Clack, clack. And that was followed by heavy footsteps belonging to an armored man. Arad sat up and looked at the maid who stood beside the door, and she flinched, approaching him with fearful full steps. Sir, master, your honor, she stuttered. Do you need anything? Arad's eyes started spazzing around as he searched for everyone's mana. It only took him a second to find their magic on the floor above. Aela, Lydia, Eris, Isdis, and even the cobra were coiled beside them. Zan. Arad teleported away, causing the bedsheets to rupture, and the maid to fall on her butt, terrified. Crack. Arad landed right beside Aela, his feet clipped into the ground, causing it to shatter with a loud boom. He? Aela looked to the side, seeing Arad staring at her. She dropped the chess piece from her hand and gasped. You're awake? Bang! The door blasted open, and an armored man rushed in. Sir Arad has woken. He went silent, seeing Arad inside, glaring at him with blazing eyes. Clap. Arad clapped his palms together. This place looks like a fortress. We were captured after I lost consciousness. I should be able to blast this whole place. He intended to unleash another void lair where he stood. Arad, stop! Aela caught his shoulder. It's a misunderstanding. Don't do it again, Arad stared at her. What? It's been a week since you lost consciousness. We're inside the royal castle in the elvish capital. Don't destroy the place, she cried. Arad looked around, seeing Lydia and Isdis staring at him, calmed down. Eris smiled. Well, it would be funny if you blasted the royal castle. I'm sure the humans won't mind you destroying the elvish kingdom. Thud. Arad fell on his butt, staring at the armored man. Sorry, almost ate your castle. Ate. The soldier gasped, remembering how the forest was chomped, leaving a massive hole that was almost a mile in diameter. He started sweating, feeling his knees shaking. Those words weren't empty. This man could eat the whole capital before they could react. Forget the castle? How are you doing? Lydia stared at him. Do you need healing? Are you feeling any pain? Just a headache. We dragons could sleep for years, so being out for a week won't harm me, I guess. It's normal, especially since you tried to hold a spell from Doma. Arad sighed. I hope they already dealt with the Queen, Chapter 327, the Queen's plot. Arad stood, staring at Ayla. I've been out for a week. Is there a bath anywhere around here? He smiled. Of course there is one. She stood, approaching the doors. Baths here are separated, so you have to go in alone. Is that a problem? Arad nodded. I can wash my own back, he smiled. I can use the void to clean me, but it never feels right until I take an actual bath. Ayla knocked on the door. Dora, are you still outside? Click. The door opened and a maid walked in, bowing to Ayla first and then to Arad, who was standing in the back. Did you need something? She smiled. You were outside the door. You should have heard us. Arad stared at her. The maid shook her head. The room is magically sealed. No one from the outside can hear or see anything inside unless called by name and intention to be able to listen. Arad wants to take a bath. Get one ready for him. Ayla looked at the maid. The maid immediately bowed. As you order, I will get the royal baignoire ready. Baignoire? Arad stared at her, confused. What's that? The maid bowed again. Sorry, I meant bathtub. She took a while to get used to speaking the human tongue. Still, mix words sometimes. Ayla giggled. Arad stared at the maid. I should be able to understand her. No. Your understanding only extends to draconic language based on it, non-intelligent monsters, and lizard folk tongue as it is close to draconic. You won't understand elvish language, nor complex ones like the dwarven tongue. Arad sighed, standing up. When would it be ready? The maid smiled, scratching her chin and puffing her chest with a grin. It's already ready. The queen expected you might need one after awakening, so she gave us a list to do beforehand. Did she now? Arad smiled, looking down at the ground. He could sense a lot of people running around the castle, their actions intense by the second. Is this the queen's doing as well? Probably. Arad approached the maid. Then lead me to it. No need to waste time sitting around. With pleasure. She looked at him with a tilted head. What color do you like? After taking one step, Arad stopped, staring at her. I have clothes. You don't need to provide anything. The maid shook her head. I highly suggest you take a lot at what we have. I'm sure you would find something to your liking. Izids stared at Arad. You can see it as formal clothes for meeting the elvish queen. You better take a set or two from them. We all got some, Lydia pointed toward the closet. We're keeping them there. Fine. Arad followed the maid to the bath. The marble royal bath is the best one in the entire kingdom. The walls are plated with gold and jewels gathered from the whole kingdom, and the water is drawn directly from beneath the world tree roots, so it boasts double the mana of normal water. You can also, the maid started talking about the bath, explaining its marvels to Arad as the queen instructed. A way to impress the dragon is to say, Isn't that a waste? Arad said, stopping the maid in her track. Yes? Dora gasped, staring at him and blinking twice. Why, plate the walls with gold and gems? That provides nothing, right? And won't be hard to look at the walls like that? He stared at her with glowing eyes. I wouldn't know that since I never got the privilege to use that bath, the maid replied with a shaking voice. And isn't the mana concentration in regular water almost zero? Twice zero is still zero? He glared at her. Why did the Queen build such a thing and didn't allocate the funds to something else? Is there a meaning behind it? I don't know. I'm but a maid, but I'm sure the Queen had a meaning behind it. Dora tried to recover. The Queen's plan is backfiring badly. You're right, since she would be an idiot otherwise, Arad mumbled. That could be a show of power and wealth. Thud. They stopped upon reaching the bath door, seeing two guards standing beside it with serious faces. Open the door, Dora approached them. The guest is here. The guards looked at each other. Sorry, but something came up a moment ago. One of them spoke, scratching his head. Would you mind waiting a bit until we got another notice? Dora froze, staring at the two guards. That can't be. She could hear Arad approaching behind her, and she started sweating. Arad walked past Dora and approached the guards, smiling. Is that so? It's a shame, isn't it? He stood between them, touching their shoulders at the same time. Zahn, the two guards disappeared in the blink of an eye, and Dora fell on her, but shaking. Did you kill them? Arad smiled. I just threw them outside. They should be fine. Dora stood and rushed to look out of a window, seeing the two guards confused in the garden. She sighed in relief. But we don't have the key. That won't be a problem, Zahn. Arad smiled, teleporting inside the bath. Click. The door opened, and he looked out with a smile. I can open it from the inside. About the clothes, Black would do. Click. He then closed the door. Dora stared at the door for a second, unable to reply before snapping to her senses. I need to report it. He's in the bath, and no one should get in. She rushed as fast as she could. Nanarig Zay, Orga. Several minutes later, Arad was relaxing inside the bath, staring at the marbled ceiling. This place is nice, but the walls, it would have been better if the walls were white or light blue. He looked around at the golden walls dotted with red and orange gems. It's suffocating. As he relaxed, he could sense a bunch of people approaching the bath, and one of them had unusually high mana. Who is that? He looked toward the changing room door, trying to listen. From the magic, it's the Queen and some guards, a maid or two as well. Why is she coming this way? I haven't even met her yet. Probably passing by, no problem. A few seconds later, the Queen stopped by the bath's door, and one of her guards opened it. She went inside with two of her maids. She looked inside the changing room, not finding anything. She looked back at the maids. Did any of you take his clothes out? The two maids shook their heads. We wouldn't dare, Your Majesty. No one has entered after him. We are sure of that. The maid looked at the bath's door. Probably storage magic, or he already left. She sighed. You two wait here. I will go alone. She took her clothes off and opened the bath door with a smile, looking around for Arad. With a quick glance, she could see a shadow behind the corner. That must be him. Did he notice me yet? She smiled, her long white hair dragging on the ground behind her. The two maids stood in the changing room, sweating from the heat. It's a risky move. What if he got offended? One of them mumbled. He won't. She's the Queen. The other one said with a smile. So she planned this, Arad said from behind them, resting his elbows on their shoulders. The two maids froze, pissing themselves, as they heard his voice coming with a growl. I'm sorry. One of the maids started tearing up. Arad extended his hand and took the Queen's clothes. Thank you. I'm taking those, he smiled, and you two enjoy a stroll in the garden. That is what I want to say, but considering your condition, I'm sending you to the uppermost floor. Zahn. He then wore his clothes. Arad locked the door from the inside, broke it so it can't be opened with a key from the outside, and teleported out, scaring the guards. You! One of the guards cried, jumping back and drawing his sword. Don't worry, I'm not used to doors, Arad smiled, lifting his hands. Where is the Queen? Another guard asked after glaring at his friend to sheath his sword. Women take a bit to change, especially a queen. Arad smiled. She will call you when she finishes. He walked away as the guard sighed in relief. inside the bath. The queen realized she was bamboozled after she found a skeleton inside the bath instead of Arad. She rushed to the changing room, finding her clothes and maids have disappeared. She screamed for the guards to open the door, but since she could remember the names of the people working for her and didn't call them by name, they couldn't hear her. The maids finally made it back after half an hour to inform the guards to open the door. They found the queen naked and curled in the corner of the changing room, crying as she thought she was locked forever. Chapter 328, Cyrilla Zilphira, IR. Several hours later, the queen called an audience with Arad present, as a way of thanking him for saving the elves. Arad walked toward the throne hall, checking the new clothes the maids gave him. The tight black suit and frilled white necktie strangled him. Each chance he got, he pulled on them like an annoyed kid. "Calm down. It's not like you really can't breathe." Aela stared at him, almost ripping the necktie. "It's not harmful, just annoying," Arad replied, sighing. "It's hard to move. Those clothes are tight," Aela giggled. "I mean, no one expected someone of your size to need it." He started at his wide arms and chest, almost ripping the clothes. She could bet that he would tear them if he flexed a bit. "We shouldn't stand before her for long as the nobles keep their mouths shut." Izdis sighed. "We already talked with the queen once." Lydia stood beside Aela, her fists on her hips. "Just ignore them. It would be faster that way." Arad looked at her. "Do you know where is Jack?" "I haven't seen him since I woke up. You're looking for me? How considerate," Jack called them from the end of the hallway, approaching with a smile like Arad. "The maids gave him a suit, but he got a white one." Arad smiled. "Where did you disappear to?" He approached. Jack smiled, dragging Arad away. "Give us a moment, ladies. I need Chief for a second." At the room at the end of the hallway, Jack sat on a chair, staring at Arad. "So, what did happen?" Arad looked at him with a smile, expecting something. "Of course, I kept my ears open and got some sweet info about this place." He pulled out a small map. "This is the capital. The map isn't detailed, but it's better than nothing. If you went this way north, you would enter the sacred forest of the World Tree, and that clown Grant is there getting healed." Jack pointed. "We better avoid that place. It's more trouble than we need." "I agree. Is it guarded?" Arad looked at the map. "A lot." Jack nodded and then pointed at another spot. "This is the capital's auction, and I already asked about a special deal just a moment ago." He giggled. "What kind of deal?" Arad stared at him. "I heard you got hold of some, let's say, rare stuff, and some people there are willing to pay a lot for enough for a man to retire." He smiled. "You're talking about the Queen's clothes." That had been less than 2 hours ago. Arad smiled. Words travel fast, especially through the guards. "They can't remain shut about such a topic to save their lives," Jack sighed. "Now the nobles are going to be a pain to deal with. We have to head for the meeting now." "We talk about that later," Arad smiled. "I'm sure she has something interesting to say." Everyone stood before the throne hall gate, and the 2 guards slowly pushed it open. "The Queen awaits your arrival. You're now in the royal presence." Arad walked in the front, Aela trailing on his right, and Izdis on his left. Eris slowly marched behind him, her face covered with a black veil. Thud, Jack walked in the back, relaxed as he stared around, glaring at the nobles with a grin. Crack! Lydia punched his side. "Behave for a bit." Bang! Bang! The Queen's speaker marched from, stroking his long white beard as he knocked the ground with his wooden staff. "You're in the presence of Her Majesty, the ruler of the great Elvish kingdom. Queen Cyrilla Zilphira." Bang! He knocked again. Bow down. Arad stared at the old man, crossing his arms and giving him a passive stare. The old man looked around, clearing his throat with a worried face. Ahem bowed down. The guards, nobles, and maids in the back bowed, but Arad kept staring at the old man, glaring directly into his eyes without moving an inch. "You won't bow?" the Queen said from the back, smiling. "I don't feel like." Arad stared at her. "I was willing to do it until I took a bath and my head cleared out." The Queen looked at Aela. "And you?" Ayala smiled. You sure aren't asking me to bow after my husband refused. The queen stared at Isdis. You represent the humans? I can't expect you to bow, do I? Of course I won't. Izid smiled, but I might do it if Arad did it. She smiled. She then looked toward Eris, and you, Night Child. Make me? Eris glared at her from beneath the veil. I won't mind sucking on your neck for a bit, she giggled. The queen smiled. I expected no less from you. She shifted her gaze toward Jack and Lydia. What about you two? Jack smiled. Depends on how much you're willing to pay. Lydia grabbed the hilt of her sword. Paladins only bow and pray to their god. She pulled it and pointed at the queen. I would die before bowing to a mortal. She stopped at that last word, thinking about it for a second. Yeah, and she nodded. I see, the queen giggled. I understand. I didn't expect less. Insolence. A man shouted in the middle of the nobles, glaring at Arad. That's unacceptable, to stand before the queen without bowing. He growled at Arad. Arad looked at the noble, lifting an eyebrow. Bootlicker, Jack mumbled, giggling. The noble got angrier, looking at the queen. Your Majesty, may I speak? I believe that everyone should speak freely. I won't berate them for not bowing, as I won't prevent you from speaking your mind. The queen smiled, and the man turned toward Arad. He's dangerous. A monster like him should be eliminated. The noble pointed at Arad. Arad nodded. I do agree with you. I'm kinda dangerous. He smiled, mocking the man. The man's face turned red. You dare the whole elvish kingdom stands before you, monster. You soon shall taste death. Rampaging on our land will never go unpunished. As Arad stared at the man, he could hear a voice inside his head. Doma spoke to him, giving him a small insight into the man's past. It's not about dealing with him or not. It's about how much effort and damage it would take. Jack sighed in the back. Let me show him why I'm dangerous. Arad smiled, looking at the queen. Can I? Do what you like, Zahn. Arad disappeared for a second, and then reappeared in the blink of an eye, two elvish women standing beside him, confused. The elvish noble face paled as the two women stared at him. John, one of them gasped. Father, the other one looked at him confused. How did you? The elf noble growled in rage, pulling his sword. Get your filth hands off them! He pointed at Arad, getting a spell ready at the tip. Arad smiled. Come on! He grabbed the two women on my shoulders. I brought them for their own good. He stared at the queen. His eyes flashed purple, and a large metal safe fell in front of the queen's legs. Un-ovium! Check the inside. Arad smiled. The man looked back, seeing the safe and getting terrified. You bastard. How did you get that? The queen knocked on the safe with her legs, looking at the guards. This thing is locked tight. Who can open it for me? Ahem! The queen froze, hearing a voice beside her. I can do it, but I would expect some payment. Jack already stood beside the queen's throne, smiling. Clang, the guards gasped, pointing their spears at him. How did you get here? It's your job to figure that out. Not mine, Jack smiled, looking at the queen. What do you say? You can take anything money-related inside the safe if what inside proved intriguing to me, the queen replied, looking at Jack with a grin. I do have a hunch at what's inside. Your Majesty, don't be fooled by those scandals. That safe is merely, he grunted, unable to figure out what to say. It isn't important. Everyone fell silent for a second, unable to believe the pathetic excuse. Click out of 5 back to 1. 3 is binding. Click out of 4, and it's wide open. Jack smiled, spreading the safe's door open with a smile. The queen looked inside from her throne, her eyes opening wide as she jumped to snatch some papers from the safe. She started reading them, her nose almost sticking to the paper. Your Majesty? The noble cried, staring at the queen. She glared back at him, her eyes flashing with a faint blue light. Shut up, crack. His body levitated, and his arms stuck to his torso as he could barely breathe. This is treason. Since when you were selling slaves to the orcs? The queen growled, and the noble could feel his torso crushed under her will. I never did. Those are forged, fake, he cried. He's been doing it for the last 300 years, Arad said from the back with a passive face. Take him away, the queen growled, and the guards dragged the noble out and approached his wife and daughter. You two are coming as well. This is treason. Those two are innocent. They joined his life after the fact and didn't know about it at all, Arad smiled. The rest of the family, on the other hand, worked with him for a cut in the profit. They remain. The queen sat back on her throne, putting one leg on the other. No, this is a different matter, Arad Orion. How could you know about such a thing? Arad smiled. Don't underestimate the wisdom of Wyrms. Inside Arad's head, Doma talked with Mom. So I one day needed some elves to test a new curse and had to buy from that man. His prices were quite cheap compared to the bigger market, but his slaves were in bad shape. How bad are we talking about? Beaten and starving for days and sometimes weeks. I went from testing a sleeping curse to caring for them. Doma sighed. Elves can't really sleep. They meditate while sitting or pretending to be asleep. So I wanted to see if they could rest more by sleeping, and used a curse to knock them out. Did it work? Yes, but they didn't get any more rest. They seemed to get confused after sleeping, like how humans act after taking a heavy hit to the head. Chapter 329, Dalla Brown, the Slapper. Arad stared at the queen as the guards dragged the noble out, smiling. He then turned toward the other nobles. Does anyone else want to say anything? How about the damage to the forest? A druid of them approached. We can't leave the forest half erased like that. Arad looked at him, scratching his head. I still have the dirt and torn trees. I can dump them back there for use. The druid sighed. It's a part of nature. He looked out of the window. Give us the dirt back. We need something to fill the hole with. I will deal with replanting the trees. The other druids between the nobles looked at each other with a smile. Thanks the world tree, this is getting over. Druids are servants of nature and walk by its rules. As intelligent dragons are, they are still considered wild monsters, and it's a rule of nature that they fight back like a disaster to them. A rat destroying the forest is no different than a bear scratching trees. They won't go complaining about it. With a single glance, Arad noticed some actions between the nobles. Some still dared to glare at him. Probably someone who doesn't have dirt behind his back. Clack! A man walked from the nobles approaching Arad. Sir Nemerian of the Greenlight household. He stared at Arad with a smile. Care if I speak my mind a bit? Of course you can, Arad replied, confused at his attitude. He is sure he doesn't like him and expects her to start screaming. I have less of a problem with you and more with her. He stared at Aella, or should I say with her family, to not be misunderstood. Arad looked back at Aella and at the man. Then it has nothing to do with her. The man giggled. Sadly, it has a lot to do with her. He pulled a necklace from his pocket. Do you recognize this? He showed it to Aella. After a second, Aella's face changed. How did you get that? She growled. The noble smiled, interested. Your mother didn't clearly leave the capital in good shape. All of your family's belongings were confiscated to pay for it. He dangled the necklace. But I'm willing to get the job done. Get you back everything, he looked at Arad, including the corpses. That's the face of a bastard if I ever saw one. Jack sighed in the back. You're playing with everyone's lives. Mind your business, rogue. The noble glared at Jack. So, as I was saying, as long as you and your husbands here help us with some affairs, I will gladly return everything to you. Crack. Arad grabbed the noble by the wrist, clenching his fist and forcing him to drop the necklace. As Arad took the necklace, he stared at the noble. Why wouldn't I just take it from you? Not like you can protect it. You might take the necklace, but nothing else. The noble smiled, grabbing his forearm. They are hidden. Only I can help you find everything. How about intimidation? That should work. Doma smiled inside Arad's head. Arad glared at the noble in the eyes and then looked back at Aella. You want everything back? Honestly? Yes, especially the corpses, Aella replied. Arad stared at her. With this man's needs, you don't seem to be getting anything. Arad growled, I won't get your family's belonging back, but I can bury them down with this city. Aella instantly knew what he was doing and looked down. If you say so, then let it be done. You're bluffing, the noble growled. You can't destroy the capital. You will die, killed by our blades. Clank, clank, clank. The queen stood from her throne, walking with her heels knocking on the ground. She lifted her right hand and swung her palm at lightning speed. Slap. She slapped the noble, the skin of his cheek tearing apart, and before he could fall, she swung her other palm, slapping his nose into his skull. Crack! The noble flew for a second before falling to the ground, unconscious. Sorry for that, she smiled, a maid rushing to her with a towel to wipe the blood from her palms. Arad stared at the queen, confused. I couldn't see her moves. She might be as fast as Alcott. The guards rushed and pulled the noble away. I will make sure you get everything back, no strings attached. The queen looked at Arad. Unlike that idiot, I don't fancy gambling with lives. Even so, a maid growled, approaching the queen. How many times I told you to never fight? The queen smiled. Sorry, he annoyed me quite a bit. She looked at Arad. Sir Arad here could have erased the whole castle. The maid looked at Arad. You know that isn't the case. The maid approached Arad, and even if he tired, I would kill him before he could do it. She reached to touch Arad. Move, Doma screamed inside his head, panicking. Bam, Arad lunged back, but the maid caught him by the wrist. Why are you running? She smiled. Swash, Arad swung his fist at her. Teleport away, you're already in her range. Creak, the maid twisted her hand, spinning Arad in place and deflecting his punch with her palm. Bam, she put him back on his legs. Your reactions aren't that bad? She smiled. Alcott taught you well, but he never told me he had a child. Arad stared at her, confused. Who are you? Arad growled. Who told you that I trained with Alcott? Dalla Brown, the gentle hand. She smiled, letting go of Arad. No one did. I can see him in your moves, the way you stand and speak, the way you fight back. And most importantly, that bulging frame of yours. The queen approached Arad, her guards scrambling to stand between them. There are 3 types of S ranks, the ones with borrowed power like Grant, the ones with self-made power like her and Alcott, and finally, the ones that we can't understand, like the top ranker, Gray. Dalla smiled. I say you're close to mid-range A rank in terms of close combat. I don't know about your magic, though. Getting caught off guard with it can be lethal. She approached Arad. I would have died if I was in Grant's place. How are people supposed to escape that black ball of yours? They are saying you shouldn't face S ranks directly. Instead, focus on evading their effective range. Jack walked toward them, and those with borrowed power just separate them from the source, and it's fine. Dalla looked at the queen with a smile. The queen clapped her hands. The meeting is over. You're dismissed. She glared at the nobles, and the guards drove them out. It's my training time. Care to join? Dalla looked at Arad. Cyrilla hired me as a maid and a trainer. Want to play with her a bit? Why would an S rank serve as a maid? Arad glared at her. You're strong enough to find a better place, right? Dalla smiled. The first time I slapped someone was 11 years ago when I worked at a bar maiden, pouring beer for drunkards. She walked behind Arad, slapped the bastard so hard his teeth fell out. Then I ran away from the guards, slapping anyone who tried to catch me till I got rescued by another drunkard. Who was that? Arad looked at her. Alcott and Erebus? They didn't tell you about me, she smiled. Alcott mentioned an S rank who made a name for themselves by slapping. But I don't know who Erebus is. Arad stared at her. A tall woman with coal-black hair, purple eyes, and ashen skin. Alcott's wife, Dalla, stared at him. Ah, Alcott and she got separated before I arrived at Alina, Arad replied. No, Nolif, not hushed. For real, how could it be? She looked down, thinking deeply. What do you mean by when you got to Alina? Arad looked at her. You earlier said Alcott is my father, but you couldn't be more wrong. I only met him 2 months ago when I arrived in Alina. But it's true, he did train me for a while. I learned so much that I became an S rank. Even Nina learned the art of slapping from me. I never saw Nina slap someone, Arad replied. But why slapping? Can't you punch? I can't. I don't have the strength for that. Dalla dangled her arms. Slapping is for those who lack the brute strength of jacked men like yourself. It's simple, swift, and targets the most sensitive organ, the skin. Arad felt a cold sweat dripping on his back. It doesn't matter how strong you are. We all feel the slap pain the same. I have hard scales covering my body. Slaps won't harm me since you can't target my skin. Arad replied, Don't provoke her. Want to test it? Dalla stared at Arad with a smile. It would hurt like hell. Do it, but I will slap you back right away. As Dalla weaved, her arms seemed to morph, looking as if they lacked bones. Clack! The moment she stepped forward, her palm accelerated like a whip, landing on Arad's shoulder. Slap. Arad's suit ripped apart in the form of her hand, tearing his scales and skin and leaving his muscles exposed. He howled, his scream shattering the castle windows in an instant. Told it won't matter. Dalla stared at Arad as he fell on his knees, sweating. Arad barely managed to stand, glaring at her. I saw how you moved. He dangled his arms as she did. You moved like this, right? Heh, Dalla gasped. He learned so much from Alcott in just 2 months. Don't tell me he already picked it up. Arad's arms seemed to morph the same way Dalla's did. Crack. He stomped forward, swinging as fast as he could. In the blink of an eye, a shock wave exploded as his open palm accelerated toward Dalla's shoulder. Crack. It didn't sound like a slap, and Dalla's body flew at the wall, the skin of her shoulder nowhere to be seen, her muscles ripped and bones broken. The shock wave traveled even to her ribs, cracking them. Gah! She coughed blood. One of her rips had pierced her lung. She smiled, blood dripping from her lips as her arm started to heal. Alcott said that he won't use it, as it isn't manly. He rather punches people. Clack! Dalla landed back on her feet, pushing her dislocated shoulder back in place. But you don't care. As long as it's power you learn and added it to your arsenal. Arad stared at her. I better learn it from her and then teach it to Mira and Lila, since they don't have the raw power to fight. Chapter 330. Exchanged slaps. Crack. Dalla cracked her shoulder, approaching Arad. But I have to say you put too much power into your attacks. More power is always better, Arad replied, looking at his hand. The more power you pour into an attack, the higher the damage and the more likely to kill an enemy. That isn't always the case. Dalla opened her palms. The world is cruel out there, especially at the higher end. You're either fighting someone far weaker than you or someone that can kill you with one hit. I certainly saw that. Arad remembered all the times that he almost got killed. They keep popping out. Everyone picks the fights they are sure to win. You're new and aren't considering that. That's why you end up pitted against them. She smiled. You don't know when to run, or when to retreat, or give up. I know when to run, Arad glared at her. No, you don't. If you did, you would have run away from Grant. Dalla approached Arad. I like that. We're alike. You don't when to run away? Arad glared at her. I don't like to run. I'm the honey badger of the S ranks, and the weakest one stat-wise. My stats are even lower than most A ranks. She lifted her hand, pulling a potion from her pocket and drinking it. Is that so? From the last hit, you seem to have quite a bit of strength. Arad glared at her, tensioning his muscles as he could feel she was about to attack again. I'm weaker than you by a lot. She smiled, Cirilla. You play with the rest. I will entertain Arad for a bit. Ordering the queen around, Cirilla sighed. I'm the ruler in training, don't forget that. Dalla stared at her with a grin. Wait, Arad glared at Dalla. What are you two talking about? He could feel the queen getting ready to attack Aella and the rest. Look at me, I'm the one you're fighting. Arad froze in place, seeing Dalla's hand flying toward his face. Shit. He instinctively lifted his arm, taking the hit on his forearm. Crack. The skin ripped from over his muscles, sending a sharp, agonizing pain across his spine. Clap, clap. As he got distracted by the pain, he felt 2 more hits on his side, causing him to vomit in agony, barely able to see. My head is spinning. I don't know where the pain is coming from, only that He puked again. Swash. His ears picked on the wind trailing after Dalla's 4th swing, causing his body to react out of fear, lunging sideways and jumping out of the window. Mom, Doma, what is this? What's she doing? Usually when an arm is torn off, you lose sensation to it and only feel pain at the stub where it got severed. What her attacks are doing is crushing your skin with all the nerves in it, just enough so they remain alive and sending pain signals. Your attack earlier broke her arm and sent her flying, but her nerves got crushed, so she wasn't in pain for long before the place started feeling numb. You used too much force. Try attacking with higher speed but lower strength. Clack. Clack. As Arad looked at the window, he could see Dalla jumping from it and running down the wall like it was nothing. Bam. Arad landed on the ground easily, tanking the fall as Dalla used a tree to break her fall. Who said I wanted to train with you? Arad growled at her, clenching his fist. I said it. Dalla rushed at him, swinging her palm at his face. Arad opened his mouth, charging a fire breath as fast as he could. Slap. Dalla slapped Arad's neck, sending an imaginable pain toward his throat muscles, forcing them to clench shut. Arad's lungs flashed red as the raging flame exploded inside, causing his chest to expand like a ball. When you feel pain, your muscles tense in an attempt to endure the damage. That's a natural reaction that you can use. Dalla swung her hand at Arad's chest. Crack! Arad bent backward, sending a kick toward Dalla's guts. Dalla shifted her attack, pulling her hand back and swinging at the sole of Arad's foot. Crack! The hit ripped Arad's steel boots clean off, tearing the skin from his foot and sending him screaming. Feet are really sensitive. Imagine the pain of hitting your toe 1,000 times shooting through your bones. She looked at Arad's face. Sorry, you don't need to imagine. You're already feeling it. Arad pointed his hand at her. Gravity magic. If she doesn't have a lot of strength, I only need to crush her. Arad smiled inside, hoping she would just drop dead. Crack! Blood gushed out of Dalla's ears as she felt her knees about to crack. Her vision blackened as the blood went down to her legs. In a second, her head dropped to the ground, jaw first. At the impact, she regained her consciousness, seeing Arad recoiling from stepping on his injured foot. Even after healing, his brain couldn't get rid of the fear of stepping on it. Dalla clenched her teeth and crawled across the ground, tearing her maid apron as she made it out of Arad's gravity magic. Bam! The moment she was out, she stood, lunging at Arad again. Arad saw her charge at him. Didn't you lose consciousness? He cried, lifting his palm and unleashing a blast of lightning. Thud. Dalla ducked beneath the attack, swinging her palm at Arad's arm. Clap, clap, 3 hits were all she needed to shut his magic off. To control magic, a person relies on feedback transferred by their nerves. If I overload them with pain, they can even lose the ability to use magic as long as the pain keeps going. She smiled, hitting Arad with a slap on the chest, causing him to stop breathing. Crack. Arad swung his palm, catching her by the neck, and growled. I caught you. He started squeezing, trying to rip her head off. Creak. Dalla dropped her pain shows, swinging her foot up and hitting Arad in the jewels, knocking him out. Crack! Arad's massive body fell back, motionless like a corpse. Thud! Dalla fell to her knees, gasping for air, but her airways were crushed by Arad's grip. She pulled a healing potion from her pocket and poured it on her body, healing herself enough to swallow the second one. B.A. dump! Bud dump! She could hear Arad's heart beating like drums. He wasn't done yet. I fought people who died of pain with a single slap. How much have you endured? She said, with a pained smile. Thud. Dalla saw Arad's arm suddenly point at her. Bam! Her eyes burst with blood and she couldn't see. What? Dalla gasped, Ting. As if time stopped, Dalla could feel Arad's hand touching her cheek. He was slapping her as hard as he could. She countered immediately. She slapped him in the face as best as she could. Slap! Slap! The two slapped each other at almost the same time. Crack! Arad's palm ripped Dalla's lower jaw off. while her slap shook his brain, tearing the skin off his face. "Thud! Thud!" The two fell at the same time, and the guards who were in the back rushed in to check on them. As the guards checked on them, their faces paled. "The head maid is dying. She lost a lot of blood, and her bones are crumbling." The guard cried, "What about him?" The other two checked on Arad and then looked at each other. "No pulse. He's dead." The third guard stared down at Dalla. How many slaps did he survive from her? That last one to the face must have fried his brain. Another guard stood. Forget about him. Let's focus on saving her life. As they tried to pour healing potions on Dalla's body, Arad stood behind them, cracking his neck. "Damn it, that's why I told you to run." A strange voice came from his body. The guards glared back at him. "You aren't dead." "Your castle would have crumbled had I died," Arad glared at them. "Move away." He extended his arm toward Dalla. Curse of regeneration. Healing. Dalla's body regenerated, and she woke up immediately, seeing Arad staring at her. What happened? Arad didn't reply and instead closed his eyes. "Fine, I won't kill her." He suddenly shouted, glaring at Dalla and panting. He wasn't dead, only unconscious. The guards couldn't feel his pulse since his heart is hidden deep within his void. Dalla barely managed to stand. "I slapped you in the face." "How did you stand back up?" "My brain extends all the way through my spine," Arad replied. "I was only unconscious as my brain regenerated using my spinal cord as a backup. So it's my loss." Dalla looked down. Health, regeneration, and endurance are all parts of a person's power. "I lost in everything.